behind closed doors.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
Stirring stuff, but just how much have they got to say? Gavin Ashenden is a former chaplain to the royal family and says the reaction from Buckingham Palace will be key.
They've got a difficult position at the moment because the sort of diversity, equality and inclusivity agenda that is sweeping our culture is very much anti-monarchic. I mean, you couldn't have anything less equal than a monarchy. So they're going to have to hope that this doesn't cause too much damage and that they can go with the flow with the new cultural mores. But it's not going to be easy with them. And I think it's a question, really, of what new information there is, if any, and the fact that Meghan and Harry have a kind of law of diminishing returns. They can only say not very much so many times. But I think the royal family will probably say to themselves, we just have to grin and bear it and see it off and hope the public lose interest and hope that Meghan and Harry lose energy.
But there is more to come. Prince Harry's memoir, entitled Spare, will be hitting bookshops early in the new year, though again it's unclear just how much material within it will prove damaging to the royal brand. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. United Nations officials warn that the targeting of Ukraine's power grid is threatening the population's survival. As the West implements a price cap on Moscow's oil, India says it does not plan to stop buying from Russia. And the committee investigating the attack on the US Capitol building on January the 6th, 2021, says it's preparing to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Well, our own Rebecca Mera takes us on a tour of the Olympic Village.
We have a full-size bed, lounge area, shower, plenty of space, which is great because I'm constantly having sex in there.
The Village is a temporary home to the world's most physically impressive athletic men and women. It was important to the Olympic Committee to give them a comfortable, state-of-the-art area to each other's brains out while they're not competing.
We have a pool where they can have a sex, a theater where they can have a sex. All these athletes are hot, horny, ready to go. They deserve the best.
I was in Vancouver where I got eaten out by this French speed skater. I have to say, these facilities are even better, and I'm going to try to a Japanese guy.
You've spared no expense.
These athletes deserve the best. They sacrifice so much for their countries. They deserve to be able to until their and can't take it anymore.
And these facilities won't go to waste. Once the Olympics are over, they'll be converted to a resort where Russian businessmen can come to their prostitutes.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program here. You can join us. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can bring up absolutely anything you want to discuss. Here in the studio, you've got Ian,
Mark, and Aria.
Welcome back, Mark. I think you've been back for a couple days now, but you and I haven't been on a show together. So
that's correct.
Good to be back. Good to have you back. And you came out to the hearing today, the jury selection.
This is a trial.
Well, yeah, it is a trial. That's true. And the trial did finally begin. Most of the day was jury selection today for the Crypto 6 case, which I am a part of.
And you are the only one left of the Crypto 6.
Correct. And the... let's see. Then there was opening statements was kind of the last thing to happen today, and it was a very interesting part of the whole situation. The bad news seems to be that there's no online feed. I'm sorry.
There was. Did anyone think that there was going to be?
It seemed like a realistic possibility.
Yeah, there was a chance. Mark Sisti, my attorney, did ask the judge about it. The judge says that's never happened before.
You know, well, that's no reason not to do it, though.
Yeah, but these guys don't like to be first, right?
Sure.
They don't want to get smacked down by some higher court or whatever.
Saying what? The trial wasn't fair because people could see it on the internet? That finally there's a little light shown on federal court?
There have been studies that show that, if you have cameras pointed at people, and this is obviously not cameras, but if you have cameras pointed at people in a courtroom, it predisposes a jury to find that person guilty. There have already been studies that show this. So
interesting.
I suspect the same hypothesis.
But there was already a camera pointed at everybody today.
Well, they have cameras in that courtroom.
Yes, but I mean in live
streaming. You're referring to media cameras.
Yes, like with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, you don't want that in a criminal trial because it influences a jury in subtle ways.
I guess are there actually studies on that?
Yes. When we first started talking about it, the possibility of having the trial live streamed, we ended up looking into it, and I found I want to say it was a study, but I don't know to what extent it was scientific or what sort of sample size they had, but they had numbers that were significant and meaningful.
Wow, okay. I don't remember that. I remember looking up the federal court rules, and one of which was instituted in like 1946 to prohibit all media from being able to record in any form, whether it be video or audio, in a federal court. And their excuse was that they believed that it would having a camera in there, for instance, would change how the witnesses behaved, which could influence a jury.
That's also true.
Negatively towards the defendant. That was the claim. But to me, it's just a BS claim that is, an excuse to prevent, as you said, Mark, light from being shown on the federal court situation. Because there's plenty of
anyone
trials.
could go there if they wanted to.
Yeah, but anyone can't go there.
And they said that this was the most attended trial. Well, the one bailiff said it was most attended he had seen. And then the other bailiff brought me into the courtroom, made sure I got a seat.
Well, there was some kind of special event that happened during the trial. There was a huge amount of people that came in or during opening statement specifically, there was a huge amount of people that were coming into the court who weren't per se government employees, because normally it's like government employees on one side, supporters of freedom on the other side. These were people who allegedly, I heard there was a court rumor that said they were foreign visitors from other court systems around the world. So I guess they were technically government employees, but they didn't work for the feds or
That's strange.
the state governments. There was a bunch of, like a lot of Asian and African looking people were there. They were showing passports to get in. I was stuck behind them as I was coming back in from lunch. I'm like, oh, crap, I hope I'm not late because there's 20 people in front of me. It took a while for me to get back into to the courthouse. But anyway, I think this whole claim that cameras could prejudice against the defendant is just garbage, especially if the defendant says it's fine, right? Like, we would love to have cameras in this court to be able to broadcast this thing for anyone anywhere who wants to see it, because not everyone can go to this, Arya. In order to attend this trial, you would have to take off 2, maybe 3 weeks of work in order to attend every single day, and then, of course, drive to or fly, right? If you're in California, and now you got to get a hotel or an Airbnb or something like that. I mean, you're in for thousands of dollars if you just want to come sit in a court for 8 hours a day or whatever and watch this thing.
And I mean, also, you don't have to put a camera on a witness or on the defendant or anything like that.
Of course you do. If people are watching a live stream of this,
the reason you put a trial out is to see the witness.
Yeah,
right?
if you're live streaming this and you're not putting a video feed on the witness, you're going to have people who are irate. What are they trying to hide by not showing the witness?
Well, aren't these people just as irate for not being able to see it all? What I would say is that you don't need to put a camera like right in the courtroom. I never saw the camera, but I was sitting in the other courtroom watching the feed.
Right.
And that feed itself,
on the walls.
And I mean, to a certain extent, I'm playing devil's advocate here, right? Because I don't really have a strong opinion on this one way or the other.
But you read it, and it's a study.
Yeah, but I could see, reporting a study isn't voicing my opinion on the matter, but I could see why a judge would still be hesitant, even with a defendant saying, look, I'm fine with this being, broadcast out over the internet or on television or whatever, because let's say you do come to believe at the end of the trial that it did impact the jury, that you hear through rumors or back channels or whatever that this jury thought you were guilty because of this, and suddenly you're appealing it.
Well, that was the claim from the courts in the 1940s, was that somebody had said that they didn't get a fair trial and it got overturned, but their conviction was overturned by an appeals court. So that was the big claim. But it's like, you know what, I'd be happy to sign a statement saying, I'm going to waive any ability to appeal based
on that.
Absolutely. Like, I think it's really important.
I never saw you being willing to waive any right for any reason.
If I want to get a camera in the courtroom and they said, okay, yeah, we'll let cameras in, but you cannot appeal based on the fact that cameras were in the court, then I'd be like, yeah, sure. That's totally fine.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
But you would still be able to appeal for other reasons.
Yeah,
presumably.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wouldn't say, the cameras prejudiced me when I asked for the cameras to be there. Right?
Yeah, but see, most people do operate that way. They do insane stuff like that, where they ask for cameras to be there, and then in
the process, you would probably be the only person ever to have their federal trial, televised, because nobody would give up the right.
Well, I think they probably would give up the right, but then they would attempt to sue because they were misled into believing that it was okay to give up the right.
Why would a defendant care to have their trial broadcast? I mean, besides Ian's crazy ass.
Because I want the truth to get out.
I suspect
I know why you want it to get out.
I suspect most people would want their trials to be watched and attended. The difference is most people don't have any reason to believe that people would tune in to watch their trials.
Well, not defendants that actually did it, right? Like they probably want to keep that quiet. They probably want to keep that closed. They don't want to show all the evidence against them for a crime they actually committed to the whole world. They'd rather keep that to just whoever's in the courtroom. If there's some reporters there, then oh well.
It's like they said in Shawshank, there's not a guilty person in our prison system.
Yeah. Yeah, but as far as if you've got, nothing to hide and you're ready to go to trial and, put it all out there for people to see, then I think that everybody should see it, which is why I go and I record trials regularly here in New Hampshire. And no one has ever said to me, in all of the trials I've recorded, and I've recorded days worth of trials. I have no idea how many days of my life I have spent in various New Hampshire state courts, district courts, and superior courts recording various trials over the last 15 years, mostly in the last probably 12 or so years. But not one person has ever said to me, it's because of your camera is why I lost this case.
Certainly not.
No one has ever said that for a moment.
However, I wonder what... obviously, I don't know. What would have happened if you had been like, I'm part of the media and I'm the defendant, yes, but I want to be able to record this myself. Like, I want to bring in my own camera and set it up here on the table and record this thing.
They won't let it, not in federal court. You could do it in state court, no problem. State
Even if you were the
issue.
defendant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen Footloose sitting up there with... he's got like a little camera that he's mounted to his chest and like a little GoPro kind of thing. He just sits up there and records the whole thing from his perspective.
I'm with you entirely. If you want the thing to be recorded and broadcast, you should.
I think you should get it too.
Yeah.
I do believe that. I would say, however, that if cameras do in fact prejudice a jury, there's really no way of telling other than just looking at the evidence and coming to a conclusion.
You would have to ask the jury. You'd have to question them later on and say,
"Are you kidding me?"
You'd have to do double-blind studies and stuff. You wouldn't do this with a real criminal trial anyway. You do this with like a mock trial.
To test it.
Yeah, without the jury knowing that it was a mock trial.
There's more coming up here. You can join the show. The number is 603-283-6160. The Crypto 6 trial kicked off today with opening statements after hours of jury selection. And, of course, you can bring up absolutely anything. We're going to get into Kanye, who's advocating for forgiveness, that Jews should forgive Hitler. And I definitely want to talk about that. Plus, a controversial California teacher over white supremacy. We'll talk about it. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Welcome to the program. The number, if you want to join us here, it's 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian, Mark, and Aria in the studio here tonight. And big thanks to everybody that came out today to the Federal Court Church in Concord, New Hampshire for the Crypto 6 day one of what is expected to be at least a 2-week-long trial. It may take 2 weeks just for the prosecution to get through their witnesses. So it's going to be brutal.
So today we got opening statements from the prosecution and from your lawyer.
Correct.
And the defense.
Mark Sisti, yep.
I want to know how you felt about it.
It was about what I expected from the feds, which was a bunch of, half-truths and lies, essentially, to, paint me as some sort of a bad guy who's been
obviously
scamming and teaming up with scammers, which I'm very interested to see what evidence they present of that. Because
arm in arm was the terminology they used.
The amazing thing to me is that, like, if challenged on this and, the half-truths and the immorality of what they're doing, the prosecutors would say, well, we're just doing our jobs. It doesn't matter if we believe these things are true or not. It is our job to present them in this way. But so your job is to do things that are actively immoral, and
to be dishonest.
You're okay with this?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell and I don't know. We pronounce the word we pronounce lawyer liar where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all that way as far as I'm concerned. But the lady who gave the opening arguments, this Georgina McDonald, this is the one that open-faced
lied about you.
Lied about me. Now, she didn't make a mistake. She made an assumption and then assumed the very worst about an occurrence. So what happened was a cell phone.
But that's what evil people do. Because they always are the worst themselves.
I don't know why she did it, but I know she did it. I was on the phone with the probation officer talking for the pre-trial something or other, the bail hearing thing, trying to give some evidence for Ian. And
oh, that's right. You were on the phone with, I believe, my own supervisory officer.
That's right. Yeah.
Is she still your supervisory officer?
Yes.
Well, I want to apologize if she gets mad at you for what I'm about to say.
She's not going to get mad at me. I didn't do anything.
When it was decided to wait to the very last minute before Ian's trial was going to be in like a couple of hours to call me.
You mean the hearing? too.
Whatever
For
it was.
the detention hearing.
The hearing. And I'm trying my very best to get a hold of, to contact people, but I really can't do anything. I'm sitting in Mexico with a cell phone. What am I supposed to do?
Oh, you're in Mexico. Well, that means you're dishonest.
That's right. There's a whole bunch of weird things. And I was on a way to an appointment. I can't control where the cell phone towers are in Mexico. And
come on, Mark. Yes, you can.
The call dropped. And now I don't know what your probation officer said to this Georgina McDonald, but I can say that between the two of them, the worst case scenario was cooked up, which was, and as soon as she asked about the financial stuff, he hung up. Now, to say I hung up when the call dropped is a lie. Right? It is an untruth. It is an inaccurate statement. And when you make an when you assume an inaccuracy, you're lying.
In the defense of my supervisory officer, I suspect that this was Georgiana McDonald, the evil prosecutor, because prosecutors are evil. It is their job to take people's rights away and throw them in prison for crimes they may or may not have committed. I have not seen any such evil behavior from my supervisory officer. So I don't know what happened between the two, but having interacted with the two of them, I would say Georgiana, very much evil. My supervisory officer, not evil.
Fine. All I can say is that lies were told about me and my actions, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah. No doubt. But
I don't like it when my government bureaucrats, the ones that I am forced to pay for, go and tell lies about me.
This is why I don't have government bureaucrats.
Well,
they claim I do.
They still take your money.
So to go back to your other point about these prosecutors doing dishonest things and putting people in these positions, it's like that's all they do all day long. I mean, that's all they did with this case. That's what they do with most cases.
Well, most cases they scare the bejesus out of people. They're very good at that,
right?
And get them
they
to
do
plea.
It dishonestly too. Like they don't deal honestly when it comes to getting plea deals, right? Like they lie to you.
They'll say anything.
They will lie to you to get you to take that plea deal because it doesn't matter. There's no punishment for them if you get to prove later on, this person was not honest with me.
That was one of the questions I had for them when they were like, well, you'll just have to take this at our word at some point in the past, year or whatever it was when I was talking to the prosecutors. I was like, okay, I understand that, but what happens if I lie to you? And they're like, well, you can be charged and indicted or whatever. And I was like, okay, what happens if you lie to me? The answer, of course, is nothing.
Yes.
They can lie to you all they want because they're cops.
You actually asked them this question?
Yes.
And what did they say?
They said nothing happens.
They
said
a non-responsive answer.
They said we're not going to lie to you. We're being honest.
Whoa! We're the good guys. We don't tell lies, and if we do tell lies, it's in pursuit of the truth.
To be fair, they did present it to me in a reasonable way, which was that they have many, many more years with which to work. Not with, but in tandem with my attorney, Richard Guerriero. And it wouldn't do them any good in the long run if they had a habit of lying to his clients, because he would then advise them in the future, look, you can't trust these people. They're going to lie to you. But
isn't he advising people of that already? You can't trust these people. They're going to lie to you.
You should.
I don't want to speak too much as to what my attorney has or hasn't advised me about.
Got it.
However, that's the truth of the matter. Well, that was how they portrayed it, is that they have to be honest because it's in the long run, it's beneficial to them to be honest, which as a libertarian, that strikes true with me. That's why all people are honest. Sure, in the short term, it may benefit you to steal from your employer or whatever, but in the long run, you're much better served by having a good reputation of being honest. So,
indeed.
But they are, literally paid to lie to people and do immoral things and, execute violence against people. So it's kind of hard for me to just take them at their word that there will be consequences for immoral behavior when they're paid to.
I find the adversarial criminal justice system to be a problem. The idea that the state is paid to convict its citizens rather than finding, who was hurt and what way were they hurt? How can it be made good? And then working within a conflict to find out what the truth is and come to some kind of justice. Like, I find that to be something much more laudable because bad things happen, right? And people are responsible. Sometimes people are responsible for those bad things. And I think that, absolutely. But this adversarial system where it's, the in the defendant's best interest to just lie and lie and lie about their involvement, and in the prosecution's best interest to lie and lie and lie about whatever they can come up with. This isn't justice.
One of the best, I guess, pieces of cinema I've seen about this was in the Star Trek episode where Captain Picard argued for Data's freedom, that he was a sentient being, and I think it was Commander Will Riker had to argue that he was just a machine, he was just a toaster, he had no sentience or whatever, and they remarked on the adversarial system then and how it was set up, that Riker was basically being ordered to participate in these immoral things, and the person who was the judge in that episode said, well, if you don't do it, I'm just going to, declare that he's a toaster, and that's going to be the end of it. So she forced him to do it, but it didn't address the underlying issue, was that there's something wrong here if our system requires someone to do things that they know are wrong.
Indeed.
There's something not right about it.
So you mentioned robots and such. This new OpenAI chatbot has been in the news a lot. I don't know if you've seen any of the
I've seen comments from people on my Facebook feed where they think they're original for generating an OpenAI comment and posting it.
There's more coming up here in moments. We can talk about all this and more on Free Talk Live.
When every single dollar matters, think technology. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Ink cartridges for your printer are so expensive that office supply stores lock them up. Those Cartridge World refills work just fine. And even the office superstores will give you store credit for recycling used toner cartridges. About the extended warranty when you make a major purchase, every tech expert I've talked to says it's usually useless, pure profit, and the salesperson might be getting a bonus if you go for it. And why spend for software when you can use free online Microsoft Office, programs like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint? And there are lots of free apps and Google Docs, too. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. United Nations officials warn that the targeting of Ukraine's power grid is threatening the population's survival. Ukraine's allies at the UN Security Council accuse Russia of deliberately targeting civilians. FSN's William Denslow reports from UNHQ in New York.
Addressing the UN Security Council, Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs Martin Griffiths said attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure has left millions without heat, electricity and water. The UK's UN ambassador said Russia's tactics were barbaric, illegal and horribly cruel. Ukraine's UN representative Sergei Kilistya said Russian missiles pose a threat both to his country and neighbouring nations like Moldova, that's recently suffered mass blackouts. Russia defended what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine, arguing it's defending Russian speakers in the country. The nation's ambassador also said weapons sent by Ukraine's allies were falling into the hands of terrorists.
As the West implements a price cap to squeeze Moscow's earnings from oil exports, India has said it will not stop buying Russian oil. Previously, New Delhi had said that there was no moral conflict in buying Russian oil because it needs to prioritise the needs of its 1.3 billion citizens. FSN's Nihar Punia reports from New Delhi.
India's Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said it isn't right for European countries to prioritise their energy needs, but ask India to do something else. He says New Delhi will continue to buy oil from Russia. The comments were made after India's Foreign Minister held talks with his German counterpart in New Delhi. India has so far not committed to the $60 per barrel price cap on Russian oil set by the G7 and EU. Indian officials have in the past defended buying oil from Russia at deeply discounted prices, saying its lower price benefits India.
In the US, the committee investigating the attack on the Capitol building on January 6, 2021, says it's preparing to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. However, the chairman of the committee has not confirmed who will be referred and whether it'll include the former president, Donald Trump. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Minister of Industry says around 300 people were killed in an attack on a village in the east of the country. FSN's Chris Ochmaringa reports from Kinshasa.
The government had initially accused the M23 rebels of killing more than 100 civilians in the village of Kishishe last Thursday. But the rebels denied the accusation, saying only 8 civilians were killed by stray bullets during a battle with Congolese forces. The DRC government announced 3 days of national mourning after the massacre. Chris Ochamringa, Kinshasa.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian, Mark, Arya here in the studio tonight. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Freedom's Phoenix. It's your source for all news, including economic news, government overreach, insane government spending, and more. You can get the headlines for today in one place and from a fresh libertarian perspective over at freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. So drop on in there and see what's in the news at freedomsphoenix.com. So let's get into some of the news here. Arya, you had a story last night that I think we teased briefly. We never got around to it. We were covering some California news. Of course, there's always crazy stuff happening in California. And now there's another story about another, what sounds like hard left teacher who is inculcating and indoctrinating the students. And is this a high school, or where's this one taking place?
It doesn't say what grade she teaches, from what I can tell. If they did, well, it is a high school, but it doesn't say what year, and they buried that pretty deeply in the article.
Got it.
So this is from Fox News, because when I run out of interesting stuff on Drudge Report, I'm limited still in what I can and can't do on the internet. And Fox News is one of the news sites that I am allowed access to, so I tend to go there, and it generally hits the same chords all the time. It's just crazy right-wing propaganda, right? Like, the drag queens are coming and they're corrupting our kids, that sort of thing. And that's just what they have. So a self-identified cringy California English teacher, which makes me wonder.
She self-identifies as cringy?
That's what they're saying. But I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's right. No one wants to be cringy.
Before, yeah.
When I describe someone as cringy, it's Bonnie smirking. I don't know. I don't know if she knows something we don't.
She uses that term.
I know, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
You don't want to be cringy, but evidently this teacher does. She claims that she combats white supremacy BS in her classroom by teaching students about the overemphasized importance of grammar usage and writing rules. Marta Schaffer, a tenured English teacher at Oroville High School, began the academic year by teaching parts of linguistics as a way of, quote, fighting white supremacy in my classes.
Okay.
According to her
I can
posts.
predict how this is going to go. So she's going to say that grammar rules are too white, and that therefore we need to be, as long as we understand what people are trying to communicate, that anything beyond whatever understanding of the sentences is, then that's the grammar Nazi stuff.
Presumably, but I mean, that's not really speculation. She just sort of has said that, right?
Well, has she said it yet?
But she said this. She says she's fighting white supremacy by teaching that parts of linguistics are. Don't make me reread everything I just read again, but that's essentially what she said. The importance of grammar usage and writing rules when overemphasized are white supremacy.
What she's saying sounds like it's a racist statement. She sounds like she's saying that people who are not white cannot speak properly.
She did not say that.
But that's kind of what she's saying, right?
She said that teaching students about the overemphasized importance of grammar usage and writing rules constitutes white supremacy.
She's saying that anyone that wants to have clear expression, meaning following the rules of how you write a sentence, is a white supremacist.
Being too much of a stickler about the rules is white supremacy. That's what I can gather is what she's saying. She said this in a TikTok video as well, by the way.
Sure, but what she's saying, when you read between the lines, the things she didn't say specifically was that she believes that non-white people cannot speak good, right?
well.
That's what
They
she's
cannot
saying
speak
here.
well.
Am I right about this?
Yes, and I would say that it is a class issue, not a race issue.
I agree.
It's
but
reasonable.
she's the racist here.
Right.
Well,
But I mean,
she's not necessarily
there's
saying
bad
that.
talking people from all colors, is what
There
I'd
are.
say.
That's absolutely true. Go to a trailer park.
Well, she hasn't explicitly said that yet,
Okay.
and she hasn't.
I know she didn't explicitly say it, but that's what she's saying.
She probably. Yeah. But I could
think
see
language and garb have been used in order to distinguish one's class for a long time. You know, how well do you speak, and what clothes are on your back have been, you know, who's getting hired, who's getting this good paying job.
Certainly, I mean, well, there are reasons that Thomas Paine was considered unworthy for the most part among his more educated peers, even as Benjamin Franklin was considered, one of the best writers of all time, even though the exact opposite is true, where Benjamin Franklin was an abysmal writer and Thomas Paine was a magnificent one. But it was because, Benjamin Franklin used all this flowery language and it sounded so wonderful when he spoke, but he had very little to actually say. However, I could see how this woman could have these views without also suggesting that, black people can't speak English correctly or whatever it is that, people could draw from what she's saying. Mm-hmm. She could believe that overemphasizing the rules is white supremacy without necessarily implying that, black people don't speak English good or whatever it is that she would be suggesting. I don't think that's what she's saying, but who knows? Her goal is to be inclusive of all kinds of ways we use the language, according to Schaffer.
Including the wrong ones. That's what she's saying.
Well,
it gets worse.
I'm very interested in that, but I would like to point out that there's a reason that the sort of adult version of a grammar book is called a style guide. Mm-hmm. And that's because so long as you follow the basics as far as grammar goes, anything beyond that is style. So, for instance, I like to use the serial comma in here. And I know that at one point or another you have claimed to be a fan of the serial comma.
The Oxford comma.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Oxford comma is what pretentious people that like the serial comma call it. I'm using the Oxford comma.
That's what it is, and it's clear, and it's necessary. Mark doesn't. Hold on. To be clear here, you don't like the Oxford comma?
The Oxford comma is a bunch. It's just, you can mark your paper up with all kinds of dots and tittles if you want.
You literally just said you use it.
You did say
I do not use it.
I thought you said you use the... What was it? The other term
the serial
for it?
comma? No, I do not use the serial comma.
Okay. You said you did.
Well, if I did, then I made a mistake. I do not use it.
Well, you should.
I thought I said, and I believe you have suggested that you like this thing.
I love it. You should use it because it increases clarity in speech.
There's times when it increases clarity, and I think you should use it at those times, and there's times when it does not.
Can we define what we're talking about here?
Sure, if I may. So if we have a list, in the studio today, we have Ian, comma, Aria, and then this is where the serial comma would come in. Mm-hmm. Aria, serial comma, or Oxford comma.
See, you've already thrown too many words out, and you've lost the explanation. You would have
and
Ian,
Mark.
Ian, comma, Aria, comma, and Mark.
Right. Whereas I would say...
It's the comma before the and.
The comma before the and.
That's the way of
things.
And some people say it shouldn't be used.
But it should be used.
And apparently Mark's saying you shouldn't
I say you should use...
Mark should be ignored.
You should use punctuation to disambiguate sentences. Mm-hmm. And if, therefore, an Oxford comma is necessary, you should use it. But there's as many examples where the Oxford comma is an ambiguation as opposed to a disambiguation. But the problem is when you start using this useless little thing, nearly useless little thing, you just get a bunch of marks all over your paper, and there's commas after every word.
Well, it's all ultimately useless. There's no reason to put an apostrophe S to denote possessiveness. We could just put the S there, and sure, 99% of the times the reader is going to understand exactly what you mean. But you're not going to argue for the apostrophe to be removed or for commas to be removed altogether.
Well, apparently this teacher is arguing for just that.
Well, I don't know exactly what grammar rules she wants to get rid of.
She's willing to throw anything out.
I don't want to get rid of any grammar rules. However, I would like to say that as far as style, you need to have your own style in writing. And your style is your style, whatever it is. And when somebody gets on and says you need to add extra commas or you need to pull out those extra commas, hey, your style is your style.
On that note, I think you're absolutely right. It's important to know the rules and then to develop one style around those rules. And I dealt with this a lot as a guitar player where people are like, well, I don't have to learn the rules. I can just make up my own styles. No. You're just a monkey playing an instrument at that point. You have to know the rules. That way you can develop a style.
We got more coming up here. If you want to weigh in, you can join the show. The number is 603-283-6160. You said this gets worse.
It does.
With this teacher in California, a high school teacher, basically throwing grammar rules out the window and saying anybody that is paying attention to the rules is a white supremacist. We'll continue here in moments. You can share your thoughts with us as well. And you can join us here on Free Talk Live. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before Pork Fest. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. Forkfest.party.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open, and of course, you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about an English... Wait, was she an English teacher? What was
She was an English teacher,
Okay,
yes.
English teacher who's basically taking a stand against grammar rules, saying, yeah, just throw all those rules out the window. I mean, if you're enforcing the rules of grammar, then you must be a white supremacist, is what she's saying here.
Now,
so
is this
far.
because people who do this are called, like sincerely, is
Grammar Nazi?
Yeah. Like, does she think that when people
She
say
took it
grammar
literally.
Nazi, they mean it literally?
I don't know. That's hilarious.
I'm genuinely confused now. I'm genuinely concerned. That's what she thinks. Because she doesn't seem to be particularly intelligent.
I want to say thank you to Will Miller, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way for you to get behind what we do here. And if you like Free Talk Live and you want to help support us, then please go to amps.freetalklive.com. You can get signed up there. It's our Patreon. Get you access to some special perks like our AMP-only podcast, which has the full radio show without recorded advertisements there. So check it out and join Will Miller over there at amps.freetalklive.com. We sure do appreciate it. That's amps.freetalklive.com. All right, you said this story gets worse.
Yeah, I mean, well, look at this lady. She just looks like a joy to be around, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly what I would expect someone who's teaching that grammar is white supremacy to look like.
Maybe I should pull up her TikTok.
Right.
What's the lady's TikTok
Interestingly
username?
enough, they clipped that out of the image. So
Okay.
I don't know. You can probably find her name. That's Marta, Marta, Schaffer, Schaffer.
Okay.
You can probably find her that way, but they actually clipped out her actual TikTok username because they do have a screenshot here of her TikTok, but they just barely clipped it out. That was kind of a jerk move from Fox News. But anyway, according to Schaffer, expectations for students to use proper grammar and syntax is part of white supremacy culture that, quote, runs deep. Keep in mind, she's an English teacher. It's her job to teach students the proper grammar and syntax. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that because it's racist for me to teach you this stuff. Absolutely insane. I mean, having spoken to somebody who's been in high school relatively recently, they don't even teach, spelling. They don't teach things like they used to. In what way? They've changed quite a bit about it all, and this person knows nothing about what a gerund is. Well, thank God. You don't want to know what a gerund is? It's pointless. That's an adjective used as a noun, right? I think it's a verb used as a noun. It's a verb used as a noun.
Okay.
What is the benefit in knowing that?
I don't know.
Because there isn't one. There's
I haven't. What is that when you diagram a sentence? I haven't diagrammed many sentences since high school.
I did that in my senior year. That was the only time I've ever done it. Obviously, it's no benefit whatsoever. And I don't want to be the type of person who's calculating the area of a circle in geometry class going, when am I ever going to need this? But the reality is, you're never going to need this.
You're almost never going to need it.
Never in my life. And again, having written thousands of pages of text, never in my life have been like, I should have used a gerund there. Or thank goodness I know what a gerund is. There's a huge difference between learning things solely for the sake of learning them and learning something that's actually useful. And I would categorize diagramming sentences and gerund as learning something solely for... If you want to be an English major, you want to dive deep into the language and have a full comprehensive understanding of it, then certainly you would need to understand how to diagram sentences and gerunds and all of these other obscure...
Does anyone major in English still, like English as in grammar?
Somebody does.
That's
usually
probably
they would
how you
go on to be a teacher, right, if they do that.
I mean, Stephen King was an English teacher, so presumably he had a degree in some sort of English and majored in it. I don't know. To me, majoring in English is very similar to, or any sort of creative writing, it's very similar to majoring in music. I don't understand why people do it. If you have a passion for these things, just start doing it. Practice it, get better at it, and you don't need to be taught how to do it.
I found her. Her TikTok is Schaffer loves to read, and this is allegedly the clip thanks to...
As long as it's not too correct.
Yeah, I'm just going to play this, presuming it's not profane. Here we
As
go.
an educator, I am constantly worried if I am part of the problem. What do I mean by that? Well, public education is an institution that upholds lots of problematic systems in our society, like white supremacy and misogyny and colonization, etc. In my role as an educator, I try to undermine that BS in my classroom as much as I possibly can. I teach high school English, and whoo! The white supremacy runs deep. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at how we write essays. Start with an introduction that includes a thesis. Always cite your sources. Use transition words like however and therefore. These are all made-up rules.
Of course they're made up
Always
rules.
cite your sources is white supremacy? My God.
I'm way less concerned about that and the next parts. Where she references styles, essentially.
Well,
therefore and however.
I'm fine with this. I'm fine with that. But the statement that always cite your sources, do good research is somehow, relegated to white people is about the most racist thing I've ever seen.
I'm telling you, this lady is a racist. She's one of these liberal racists.
Ass racist.
Yeah, she's one of these liberals who thinks that she's fighting for racial equality when she's actually secretly racist. Whether she realizes that or not is
I'm
another
fine
question.
with style, right? Like, style can be used in a variety of different ways. Mark Twain, arguably a pretty not racist guy for his time frame,
sure,
managed to use for Jim the
let's not.
Right, Jim, the character in his which one was it? Huckleberry
Tom
Finn.
Sawyer.
Was it Tom Sawyer?
Wait,
I think it was Huckleberry.
It was Huckleberry Finn.
That
Jim the black guy?
Jim was the black guy.
Okay.
And Jim, like his diction was so you could understand when he was talking, like it was him.
Sure.
And you did. You felt like you were there. You felt like you knew Jim. You got the experience. That is, ladies and gentlemen, how you use style.
Sure. Let me go on here. She's got a little bit more to say.
Yeah, I need to know what she has to say.
So, again, she says these rules are arbitrary, which is, of course, all rules are, somebody made this crap up. She's right about that. At some point, someone said, this is the way it should be done, right? How these rules all came about, I don't know, but that's the way they are.
I mean, if she really wanted to be helpful, there are ways that she could make a TikTok video where someone would write, the dog did run across the street. Well, the issue with that isn't proper grammar or anything like that. It's just weak language. Instead, scrap all of that and say the dog ran across the street.
It's shorter. It's more concise.
And it's more active.
Yeah. So here's the rest of it.
They're arbitrary. They were created by Westerners in power. In linguistic justice, April Baker Bell calls this the language.
Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah. Hold on. There's a book called Linguistic Justice. Okay. I'm going on Amazon. Fine. We'll do it her way.
Yes, it's true that experts have created whichever language we're talking about.
I don't think so. I think it evolved organically, and eventually maybe experts,
codified,
the writers, the well-spoken, codified it. Yeah.
Well, she's actually arguing that it's a problem that Westerners created the language that Westerners speak.
Right. I mean, I think you might be able to make the argument that the English language has been to some extent imposed on the world, but I would like to step down and just say the most valuable general skill that you can teach the kids of the world is speaking English. That, like, suddenly when you speak English, I believe the number is that your income potential triples.
Potentially, yeah.
Now,
not to mention reading and writing, literacy. It's a big deal for a reason.
This is what you call a market failure. Is this lady's argument that that English is bad because it's been imposed, but it's good if you learn it individually. And ladies and gentlemen, the better your kid can speak English, the more money they're going to make.
And she looks as wild-eyed and crazy as you might think she is from this. Here's the rest of the clip.
Hold on. I need to know the author real quick.
Linguistic Justice?
Yeah, because there's several. Linguistic Justice.
She shows an image here. April Baker Bell.
Okay, good. That's the first one. I'm not buying it, though, because it's $40.
Subheadline is Black Language, Literacy, Identity, and Pedagogy.
The amazing thing I found, I had to find out the author because there's multiple versions of these. And they're all $40+. There's linguistic justice on campus, pedagogy and advocacy for multilingual
these sound like
students.
textbooks. They must be like textbooks or
no,
something.
it's crazy leftist propaganda, linguistic diversity and social justice. An introduction.
Textbooks are also leftist propaganda. Here's the rest of the clip.
Linguistic justice, April Baker Bell calls this the language of respectability or the language of power. Which got me thinking, what if I started my school year with a unit honoring how we talk rather than teaching students how to write properly? So this is the start of my series on teaching linguistics in high school.
All right, there you go. If you want to follow her on TikTok, she's Schaffer, loves to read.
Well, that was nice of you.
Want some insanity in your life.
You did her a better solid than Fox News did. I think she's crazy, and I don't think anyone should follow her, but, there you go.
You can join the show here.
TikTok's about having fun.
Hour number 2 is coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. United Nations officials warn that the targeting of Ukraine's power grid is threatening the population's survival. Ukraine's allies at the UN Security Council accuse Russia of deliberately targeting civilians. FSN's William Denslow reports from UNHQ in New York.
Addressing the UN Security Council, Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs Martin Griffiths said attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure has left millions without heat, electricity and water. The UK's UN ambassador said Russia's tactics were barbaric, illegal and horribly cruel. Ukraine's UN representative Sergei Kilistia said Russian missiles pose a threat both to his country and neighbouring nations like Moldova, that's recently suffered mass blackouts. Russia defended what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine, arguing it's defending Russian speakers in the country. The nation's ambassador also said weapons sent by Ukraine's allies were falling into the hands of terrorists.
As the West implements a price cap to squeeze Moscow's earnings from oil exports, India has said it will not stop buying Russian oil. Previously, New Delhi had said that there was no moral conflict in buying Russian oil because it needs to prioritise the needs of its 1.3 billion citizens. FSN's Nihar Punia reports from New Delhi.
India's Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, has said it isn't right for European countries to prioritise their energy needs, but ask India to do something else. He says New Delhi will continue to buy oil from Russia. The comments were made after India's Foreign Minister held talks with his German counterpart in New Delhi. India has so far not committed to the $60 per barrel price cap on Russian oil set by the G7 and EU. Indian officials have in the past defended buying oil from Russia at deeply discounted prices, saying its lower price benefits India.
In the US, the committee investigating the attack on the Capitol building on January the 6th, 2021, says it's preparing to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. However, the chairman of the committee has not confirmed who will be referred and whether it'll include the former president, Donald Trump. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Minister of Industry says around 300 people were killed in an attack on a village in the east of the country. FSN's Chris Ochmaringa reports from Kinshasa.
The government had initially accused the M23 rebels of killing more than 100 civilians in the village of Kishishe last Thursday. But the rebels denied the accusation, saying only 8 civilians were killed by stray bullets during a battle with Congolese forces. The DRC government announced 3 days of national mourning after the massacre. Chris Ochamringa, Kinshasa.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Difficult days lie ahead once again for the UK's royal family, with the news that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, will be appearing in a new Netflix documentary that is to be released possibly in the next few days. The trailer came out last week.
No one sees what's happening behind closed doors.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
Stirring stuff, but just how much have they got to say? Gavin Ashenden is a former chaplain to the royal family and says the reaction from Buckingham Palace will be key.
They've got in a difficult position at the moment because the sort of diversity, equality and inclusivity agenda that is sweeping our culture is very much anti-monarchic. I mean, you couldn't have anything less equal than a monarchy. So they're going to have to hope that this doesn't cause too much damage and that they can go with the flow with the new cultural mores. But it's not going to be easy with them. And I think it's a question, really, of what new information there is, if any, and the fact that Meghan and Harry have a kind of law of diminishing returns. They can only say not very much so many times. But I think the royal family will probably say to themselves, we just have to grin and bear it and see it off and hope the public lose interest and hope that Meghan and Harry lose energy.
But there is more to come. Prince Harry's memoir, entitled Spare, will be hitting bookshops early in the new year, though again it's unclear just how much material within it will prove damaging to the royal brand. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. United Nations officials warn that the targeting of Ukraine's power grid is threatening the population's survival. As the West implements a price cap on Moscow's oil, India says it does not plan to stop buying from Russia. And the committee investigating the attack on the US Capitol building on January the 6th, 2021, says it's preparing to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
I'm getting joined by Ellie Granderson. She's going to put a feminine scope on these lace kerchief starbuggers and give us her lady opinion. Ellie?
Hi, Joe.
You know, it riles me up every time you walk in here, Ellie. You set my blood to dancing with all your pillowy parts.
Oh, stop it, Joe.
Now give it to me, no fimble famble, Ellie. When we start dusting these rocket boys' lily white bottoms with baby puff?
Joe, since the end of the Cold War, NASA has basically functioned as a giveaway to the American aerospace industry, wasting trillions of taxpayer dollars every year on extravagant programs with no tangible benefit.
Finds a plum to look at, all the sense of a badger to boot.
Joe.
Now I've been thinking on, I got these 3 little chickens pecking on my head while save NASA some coin. Man wants to go to space, can strap on the helmet, climb in the cannon, let the Chinese gunpowder carry him off among the stars. He'll come back now. Gonna skin a fox in one throat, and you're gonna fancy on it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome to the show. You can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. Coming up, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, has apparently advocated for Jews to forgive Hitler. And
among other things.
And all the grammar Nazis.
Definitely want to talk about this.
I'm an advocate of forgiveness, too. And I mean, most of the Jews alive today did not really have anything done to them personally by Hitler.
Let's get into it here in a moment. I think all of us are advocates of forgiveness. At least last I heard you were, Mark. I don't know if you've changed your mind about that.
I haven't forgiven you.
We'll get into that coming up here. 603-283-6160 is the number here, and if we get the chance, we got other stuff in the news like the OpenAI chatbot that a lot of people are having a lot of interesting interactions with, apparently. I have yet to actually get access to it, though, at this point. Apparently, I chose the wrong option when I tried to sign up. But anyway, we can talk about that. But first, let's go to Sydney. He's on the line. Ian, Mark, Aria in the studio tonight. Sydney, you're on in Pennsylvania. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, guys. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Sure, welcome. Go ahead.
I actually first wanted to talk about actually calling the radio, because I called a local radio station the other day, and I just find it to be so nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I think probably a lot of people feel the same way. It gets very, the anxiety builds up. It gets difficult to
don't
breathe.
consider it to be anxiety when I do it. It's an adrenaline rush. It's like, it's exciting, right? Like you're on in front of an indeterminate amount of people. You have no idea how many people are listening.
But we're
to that.
performers. Right, for the average person, stage fright and all of these sorts of things are going to kick in.
But there's something about calling in, because I'll tell you.
I do it, yeah.
I do not have this experience when I'm on the radio. But if I pick up the phone and I call into a radio show, like I can feel the adrenaline. Like I can feel that it's affecting me in my ability to, express myself on whatever show that is. This happens to you as well?
Well, sure. Your time's limited in a different way.
That's true as well.
And,
the pressure is on.
The pressure is to be entertaining. Every word that comes out of your mouth, the words
hang up
you
on
can
you.
control need to be entertaining. Otherwise, you're going to get hung up on.
That's true.
And whereas as a host, I know I'm here until the end of the segment at the very least. Unless I start flipping out and cussing you out and calling you a BAMF and a variety of things.
And storming out.
Once was enough.
You got to look that up on YouTube, folks. It's funny.
You make a good point. I never considered that the difference being that the pressure is sort of on when you're calling into a show versus hosting the show. That does kind of explain the key difference. But so, Sydney, I mean, are you having that experience right now? If so, just take a deep breath.
Exactly.
And remember.
Yes. Take a deep breath. I appreciate that you guys gave me a little bit of an interlude. That actually gave me a little bit more grounding.
Yeah,
and,
it's also helpful to take notes sometimes. I've been lost before. I'll call in to a show and I'll have something I want to get out, but then the host will take you off in a different direction. Then oh crap, what was I originally trying to say? So just making a few bullet points. You're not going to have a chance to get a whole dissertation out, obviously, but just hitting the strong points that you want to make sure you hit. That's not a bad idea. It keeps you kind of focused and centered during the call. Anyway, go ahead, Sydney.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely use the notes idea because that does help me just keep focus of what it is I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So other than just, that anxiety of calling in and, getting your opinion out and being heard, I wanted to talk about your case and you specifically because I check up on you guys every, here and there. I've been to Pork Fest. I tune in, and I just so happened to tune in today, heard it was the first day of this trial. Am I right? I just caught, the last part of that last section.
Correct, yeah. It was the opening statements today after jury selection, so that's what we got through.
Yeah, and over the years, I mean, there's been people that have seemed to come in and out. There's a few people that have always been around. I personally really like Conan. I think he's one of the best people.
We love Conan.
But I wanted to talk about you and the fact that I also read on freekeen.com, it seems like the Crypto 6 became the Crypto 1.
Yep, that happened, unfortunately, but that's how it goes.
I mean, there's still the 6 people that were charged, and the 5 of those people have had, let's call it an injustice done to them.
Absolutely. Every single one of those
most of them aren't
people.
happy about it. Aria's sitting here. I publicly, I asked in a group chat for Aria to take the pleas so that Aria could, so that Free Talk Live would be saved.
I suspect she didn't do it for your reasons, Mark.
I'd let Aria, say what her reasons were, but I'd like to take responsibility because I asked.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to insult anybody, and absolutely everybody is involved, and everybody has their reasons, and you've covered that a lot over the years, And I just really wanted to focus on I wanted to give a lot of praise to Ian for being in the position that he's in, being consistent, always seeming to be there and being the backbone for a lot of people. I pretty much take it for granted that I could always tune into Free Talk Live and it would be there, and it's always been there over the years. And, like I said, I've come in and out, and it's just really, with this case, I'm afraid that, it might put that in jeopardy, actually.
Well, there is always that possibility, and that uncertainty is, I think, why a lot of people take a plea deal. The uncertainty of not knowing if you're going to get a decent jury, if the jury's going to make the right decision, even given the truth in front of them. And the truth is, none of the people in the Crypto 6 committed an actual crime. None of them actually harmed another human being. And even under the government's own rules, they didn't commit a crime, in my opinion. But why did they take a plea? I mean, I can't speak for them, but my understanding is they were afraid of what might happen.
Well, this is the classic prisoner's dilemma, right? I don't
know if that's the prisoner's dilemma, but it is a dilemma that's faced by people within the system.
Well, there's
I've always thought this case has been bogus. I think everybody looking at it thinks it's bogus. I just want to finish up by saying, Ian, you're amazing, and you're the man, and we stand with you, brother, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it. The best thing you can do to help, I think, at this point is just share the story. So, go to thecrypto6.com, grab a favorite video, because there's a bunch of really good ones on there, whether it be the actual video of the raid or one of the, I think Ledger made a great little 10-minute or so long, 15-minute long mini documentary, or the Ballad of the Crypto 6 teaser trailer. These are all great options. Just share your favorite one and tell people about it. Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Thank you so much, Ian, for always being out there.
Thanks,
and I encourage everybody to call in, even if you get scared or if it's going to make you anxious, just call in.
I agree. I would love to have more callers and more variety than, Sarah and David in New Mexico.
There's also quite a bit of social media being generated about this right now, and if you could, when you see social media about the Crypto 6 or about Ian's trial or whatever the situation, like, share, do all that stuff.
Yeah. You've been really, really silent, Aria. Do you want to comment?
Not particularly.
Okay.
People are going to assume whatever they're going to assume, and I don't have the desire to fight with them. Let them make their assumptions.
I think a lot of it is uncertainty for people as to why they take the plea deal, right? Like, you're looking at dozens of years behind bars, and prosecutors come to you and say, hey, look, you weren't the number one guy in this situation. How about you just take this plea deal here and we'll keep you out of prison. You might have to be on probation for a few years, and there might be a little fine or something like that, but it sure is a lot better than going to prison for 20 years or whatever. And I think a lot of people say, yep, that sounds a lot better than prison, and they take the plea, even though they didn't actually harm anyone. It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. However, it made me think of something, Ian. Did the prosecutors ever come to you and say, hey, if you'll work with us to get these Nigerian romance scammers?
No.
Never. Oh, really? No. So they consider you the top of the food chain in this when you've never scammed anybody.
Well, to be fair to the people who are unfair, the Nigerian scammers are outside of their jurisdiction.
They could, in theory, work with the Nigerian
police. They went and got
police.
Noriega. They went and got the Honduran president very recently. They don't really care about jurisdictions.
The U.S. arrested the Honduran president?
Yep.
Wow.
That's surprising.
If they wanted to, they could call up the Nigerian police and say, hey, look, we got a lead on this guy. Here's his ID. He's been taking
But they know that you can't. They know that you don't know who these scammers are.
Well, actually, one of them ID'd to me, and so I didn't know he was a scammer at the time, but later on, you could extrapolate from what happened that he was. And has that person been arrested yet?
I'm going to speculate no.
I suspect not either as well. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join the show here. This is Free Talk Live.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here and can bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio here tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And Aria.
Join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features that are waiting for you. That's freetalklive.com. Oh, and by the way, I want to let you know that Bullion Max has a special offer for you. We've talked about how, of course, inflation is a real problem, and I think most people are aware of that. If you spend money in the United States, you're well aware that inflation is a serious issue. So what do savvy investors do and have been doing for generations? Buying some of the most stable assets known to man from Bullion Max. What you can do to get yours, your silver starter kit, is to go to bullionmax.com/FTL. It's 5 ounces of silver from some of the world's most popular mints, and they're throwing in a free gold back. And we're such big fans of the gold back here on Free Talk Live. what a perfect excuse for you to get one for yourself.
Sort of. For the silver package that they're doing, they're giving away a silverback.
Well, that's not what we're doing at bullionmax.com/FTL. So if you go to bullionmax.com.
Ari is such a good customer that she knows all their deals.
Yeah, there
well,
is a
I went there
silverback deal.
earlier for other reasons, and it pulled up the 5-ounce starter package, and it said also win a free silverback. So I'm sorry, I just assumed that was also the same one.
No, they have a different silverback-based starter package, or the starter kit. But that's not the one we're promoting here. It's actually more expensive.
Sorry about that then.
That one actually costs a little bit more because the silverback is retailing for twice the price of a single goldback. Silverbacks are just collectibles. They're not actual spendable silver.
Why not?
Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, the silverback really only exists. For those that haven't seen it, then you should look it up because it is gorgeous. We had one in the studio, but I don't know if someone walked away with it. It's no longer here. I don't think they would have, but it's been misplaced. It's too bad because I really would have loved to have shown it off. But the silverback is essentially a proof of concept just to show that it can be done. There's certain properties of silver that have to do with was it like varnishing or fading or something like that? Like there's a certain thing that happens to silver that it's hard to protect against. And
well, I mean, you can just look at silver, silver, which is like eating utensils.
Mm-hmm.
You got to clean those things all the time. They're not pretty,
right? Like I forget what the term is. I don't have it in front of me. Right, oxidation, I think is what Bonnie's saying. Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, so they had to come up with a way to prevent that from happening with the silverback. It's not a problem that happens with gold, so they didn't have to figure that out.
Sure.
But they figured that out. They got the thing nailed, and it looks amazing. It's gorgeous. They did a giveaway recently at Bullion Max to give away 10,000 of these silverbacks, and I'm happy to announce that some of our hosts won that giveaway. We entered just like everybody else. We didn't have any special treatment or anything like that.
Check your spam folders, people.
Yeah, that's a good point, because your winning notice came to your spam folder, so definitely take a look.
I would not have ever seen it if you hadn't pointed it out.
If you entered that contest, take a look at the spam folder. And so anyway, the silverback is gorgeous, but the thing is it only has 2 cents worth of silver in it, because it's 1/1000th of an ounce of silver, right? So that... It's an expensive process to make these things, right?
Yeah.
Like when
that's very much a novelty then.
Yeah, when they do the gold backs, it's like at least $1 per unit. For the singles, it costs $1. So now you're talking about $1.02 at minimum, right? Presuming the silver process is the same price as the gold, it may be more expensive.
I thought the single was like $4.
I'm telling you the cost of the actual manufacturing. So there's the price of the gold, the cost of the manufacturing, and then the distribution on top of that, and then it's close to like $3.70, I think, right now is the current rate for a gold back. So 2 cents worth of silver, it just doesn't make economic sense.
No, if you're going to buy silver from them, get their silver starter package at bullionmax.com/FTL.
Like you did.
Yeah, you get it at employee pricing. It's like $140 or something. And
it's $146 something. And change.
Something around those lines. And it's 5 ounces of beautiful, breathtaking pieces of silver that
that's the way to go.
It's actual silver.
If you're a huge goldback fanatic, check out the silverback. They're now selling them. It was a giveaway thing for a couple months. They were doing an entry contest, and now it is actually for sale on bullionmax.com/FTL. Just search for silverback, and you'll find it there. It's just under $10 for one of these things. It's a collectible item.
This is why I think they probably...
Beautiful. Yeah.
This is why I think probably everyone who signed up for the sweepstakes won a silverback, because... I understood that they only made 10,000 of them.
No, there's 100,000 of them.
Oh, okay.
They gave away 10,000 to kind of get the word out about them, and now they're going to sell the other 90,000, and I bet you they're going to sell out.
They're gorgeous. I just can't say it enough times.
I would have bought one if I hadn't won one.
So check it out, bullionmax.com/FTL. The other reason why, Mark, this thing isn't really a viable currency, even if you could get it at a good price, like let's say silver goes up by 100x in price. So it goes from $20, I don't know what it is, right? Let's just say it's $20 an ounce. It goes from $20 an ounce to $2,000 an ounce. Well, now it's in the area of making sense to manufacture, right? Because at $1,600 an ounce for gold, then the gold back makes sense, right? You can use that, you can buy it, it holds its value and all that. The silverback, you would then have a bill, bill's not the right word, a unit that is about the size of the 50 on the gold back as far as its size is concerned. So even though it's 1/1000th of an ounce, it's twice as large or 4 times as large or whatever than the single gold back, because silver is not as dense as gold. So it takes up a lot more space than the Goldback does. It just
I assume that was a deliberate design choice to make it bigger.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
No, it's not as dense. That's just they can't make it. I don't think any smaller. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know for sure silver is less dense than gold.
Well, that is certainly true.
Yeah, that's a factor.
But it seems to me that if this was 1/1000th of an ounce of silver in the silverback, and the goldback has a 1/1000th of an ounce, and then it has a 1/10th of an ounce goldback, which isn't.
Do they have hundreds?
There's no 1/10ths. No,
that's too bad.
The
50.
Yeah, the 50. You got to have 20 of those, so that's 1/20th of an ounce. The largest size goldback is 1/20th of an ounce.
Okay. I thought there was a 100.
Thick mofo.
Okay.
No.
Well,
no, they are. There's one sitting right there. They're large, and they are thick. They are bulky.
Too big for my wallet. Will not fit.
Okay.
So the 50 isn't the most useful of the goldbacks. It's just.
But
gorgeous.
they are beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's a huge canvas for the artist to work with.
Yeah.
The artist who did these things.
So,
and the silverback, I think it may be about that size, maybe between the 25 and the 50s. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
But it's very large. It's much larger than the Goldback one.
Yeah. So I think there's some real problems between the silverback ever becoming an actual usable currency, which again is why it's just a collector's item.
Yeah.
It's a proof of concept. Like if
just
silver
use mercury dimes if you want to use currency.
If silver ever does get to the silver bugs believe silver is going to 100x someday, right? Like that's what they believe about it.
The people that talk about it out there, like the people that write the newsletters and stuff, they think that they want you to believe that they believe that it's going to 100x. But
Bonnie just found it.
Well, silver has never had the issues that gold had, right? Silver has always been breakable into tenth of an ounce pieces and smaller denominations without it being lost. You don't want to carry around 1/100th of an ounce of gold or whatever, but you can carry around 1/10th of an ounce of silver without it being a problem.
So yeah, maybe they did try to make it as large as possible for the collectible factor. That may be the case. Maybe it can be shrunk down to some extent, but it is the exact same size as far as it's probably not as thick, but it's the exact same dimensions as the 50. It is a gorgeous thing, and I love the little red highlights on it as well. So anyway, more coming up here in moments. We'll continue. Kanye is back.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. United Nations officials warn that the targeting of Ukraine's power grid is threatening the population's survival. Ukraine's allies at the UN Security Council accuse Russia of deliberately targeting civilians. FSN's William Denslow reports from UNHQ in New York.
Addressing the UN Security Council, Under-Secretary-General for Humanitarian Affairs Martin Griffiths said attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure has left millions without heat, electricity and water. The UK's UN ambassador said Russia's tactics were barbaric, illegal and horribly cruel. Ukraine's UN representative Sergei Kilistia said Russian missiles pose a threat both to his country and neighbouring nations like Moldova, that's recently suffered mass blackouts. Russia defended what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine, arguing it's defending Russian speakers in the country. The nation's ambassador also said weapons sent by Ukraine's allies were falling into the hands of terrorists.
As the West implements a price cap to squeeze Moscow's earnings from oil exports, India has said it will not stop buying Russian oil. Previously, New Delhi had said that there was no moral conflict in buying Russian oil because it needs to prioritise the needs of its 1.3 billion citizens. FSN's Nihar Punia reports from New Delhi.
India's Foreign Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has said it isn't right for European countries to prioritise their energy needs, but ask India to do something else. He says New Delhi will continue to buy oil from Russia. The comments were made after India's foreign minister held talks with his German counterpart in New Delhi. India has so far not committed to the $60 per barrel price cap on Russian oil set by the G7 and EU. Indian officials have in the past defended buying oil from Russia at deeply discounted prices, saying its lower price benefits India.
In the US, the committee investigating the attack on the Capitol building on January the 6th, 2021, says it's preparing to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. However, the chairman of the committee has not confirmed who will be referred and whether it'll include the former president, Donald Trump. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Minister of Industry says around 300 people were killed in an attack on a village in the east of the country. FSN's Chris Ochmaringa reports from Kinshasa.
The government had initially accused the M23 rebels of killing more than 100 civilians in the village of Kishishe last Thursday. But the rebels denied the accusation, saying only 8 civilians were killed by stray bullets during a battle with Congolese forces. The DRC government announced 3 days of national mourning after the massacre. Chris Ochamringa, Kinshasa.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The phones are open, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can bring up absolutely anything here on Free Talk Live. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. And then coming up, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, is back in the news again, now advocating for forgiveness, something I'm a big fan of.
Yep.
And it's going to stir up some controversy because he's good at doing that, apparently. And who is he asking for forgiveness for? Is it Hitler himself, Arya? Is that what this story is
It is,
about?
and that's where I kind of diverge from. I don't see the point in arguing that people should forgive a dead person.
Well, let's talk about it coming up here in moments. It's Ian, Mark, and Arya in the studio. We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts first, though. And let's go to Perry calling us from California, listening to K-Talks. Go ahead, Perry.
Yes. The other day, I was listening to the news, and they were talking about the $90 billion that they gave to Ukraine.
Sure, and counting. I'm sure they're not done.
$38 billion, I think, Biden. I think he was talking about giving another 30. But anyhow, the point is they can't track any of this money, they said.
Of course not.
And the thing is, I'm thinking, I like to listen to conspiracies, especially on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was thinking, how would they divide up some of that money for the politicians, the Justice Department, let's say, the CIA, whoever, the FBI. How would they actually just get suitcases from the printing press? I mean, it's interesting to think about how they do this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. How are they delivering the billions upon billions of dollars, the 90+ billion, to Ukraine? Is it a wire transfer, or are they actually bringing over pallets full of cash?
I think they're probably buying things from American weapons distributors and then bringing the weapons over.
No. There's weapons being given to them. Sorry, Perry. As I understand it, there's weapons being given and actual $90 billion in U.S. dollars.
Okay. Sounds like just a wire transfer.
I think the people that are manufacturing the weapons are kicking back the politicians and the people in Washington too, as well.
Sure, of course they are.
What is Ukraine supposed to do with $90 billion U.S. dollars, though?
Whatever they want to do with it.
I know, but
they've been giving money to other countries for years. This is not anything new. I mean,
this is foreign aid. It's just Ukraine's getting the bulk of the foreign aid right now compared to, most of the rest of the countries in the world. There probably is $1 billion here and $1 billion there for, some African countries and a few billion for Middle Eastern countries or whatever, and then Ukraine's getting $90 billion in the last year.
Can I just say this last thing?
Sure.
We actually, at the American people, we're paying more attention. If we could, we're not going to change all this in our lifetime. I can tell you that. But however, we've got homeless in every city. We've got roads and bridges and infrastructure, airports, tunnels, military, you name it. We need to take care of America, and we got to quit. We got to change our system has gotten complete in so many ways. I know I don't have time to explain it tonight. I love talking about the government, but the thing is, we're in so much trouble. I love America because I know we're the greatest country.
Don't you think it's time, though, to end the experiment? I mean, isn't it true that America is an abject failure of a country, and shouldn't it just end, and we should have 50 states go their separate ways and have 50 competing nations, or if they want to join, and have a little federation, they can? What do you think about that?
I disagree with that because we got to stay as strong as we possibly can and as powerful as we possibly can, and together we can do it much. But what we do need to do is get back to our founding.
What would you do? You say you love America and it's the greatest country on earth. I don't agree. I want you to sell me on this. Why is America the greatest nation on earth? What's so good about this thing?
Because we have liberty in our bones, in our blood, in our soul. We have.
I'm getting sentenced by the federal government next month, right?
You can't listen if he's talking.
Yeah. Well, he's not. He hasn't stopped talking.
But, Perry, the evidence suggests that's not true. If you look at the last couple of years with the COVID crackdowns and people's just massive obedience to the state and its diktats, it seems that the opposite's true and that most Americans love being told what to do.
That's only because the government has been brainwashing and dumbing down and indoctrinating.
Well, what makes you think you can undo that damage?
Well, what they're trying to do, they're trying to change America. They're trying to take away our liberty.
They did. It's done.
Well,
liberty's dead, man. It's over. The only chance liberty has, if people actually care about liberty, is for
Convention of States or something, so we can take it back.
Never going to happen. And besides, even if you called a Convention of States, it would be a bunch of anti-liberty people that would fill that Convention of States up, because that's where America's at these days, and it's not going to turn around. It is going into total tyranny mode until the American federal government completely crumbles. There is no other way out of this. There's no turning around the ship of state at the national level. The best chance that liberty has in the United States, now I know Mark would say just get the hell out, move to Honduras or somewhere else in the world, and that's an option. But as far as the U.S. is concerned, getting out of the United States, having one state attract the most liberty-minded people, because there are some of us out there, right? Like that's why Aria, you and I, and thousands of others, hang on, Perry, that's why a bunch of us moved here to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project or the New Hampshire Freedom Migration, to gather our numbers together in one geographic area, because we understand that there's no chance in the other 49 states. So that's why.
But all the things you complained about as far as liberty dying happens here in New Hampshire.
Not as bad. New Hampshire is the freest state of all the 50 states.
Ari is getting sentenced next month, right?
He's under trial, so that's a moot point. That's a moot point with Ian.
The federal government is, New Hampshire is the United States.
Is your criticism that New Hampshire hasn't been successful yet?
My criticism is that it is both a bad idea to leave the United States, and that leaving the United States is the only successful way for New Hampshire to be more free. And that is a real difficulty for the whole situation. If New Hampshire leaves the United States...
Okay, back to the caller's point, though. This idea that, this Constitution is somehow going to make things better. If the Constitution had worked at all, we wouldn't be in this situation now.
I think you could get the right Supreme Court to change the Constitution back.
That doesn't work that way.
Yeah, if we elected only angels, we wouldn't have to worry about any of this.
Go ahead, Perry.
My question is this. Do you actually believe that a lot of these people that have power in America want to see America go down and for their children and their friends and family, neighbors, who knows? I mean, you really believe that there's going to be that many people that are going to allow America to go in the wrong direction like this?
The people who have power only care about their power, right? Like they know that their family will be just fine. They're not worried about their family. They're getting all kinds of money from the federal government. They're getting deals, backroom deals. They got all kinds of donations coming in from corporations. They, when they quit their role in whatever federal bureaucracy, are going to sail on in on a golden parachute into some sort of corporate, mega corporation job where they're going to get paid plenty of money. Plus, they're going to get their 90% of their federal paycheck as a ongoing pension. These people are going to be all set. They don't care one whit what happens to freedom in America.
So the rest of us will be starving, living in poverty, and going through and being in misery.
Look what's happening.
Looks about right.
Look at inflation right now.
The middle class has been gutted.
Oh no, we're heading in the wrong direction. Anybody with a comment, just a little bit of common sense.
You're supposed to be selling me on this idea of America being the greatest nation on earth. It sounds like we're selling you on the idea that it isn't.
No, we're going in the wrong direction, but we got to turn it around.
You can't, dude. People have been trying to do that for a couple hundred years. I mean, that's always the same message. It's always the same. Oh, just vote for these guys, and they'll turn it around. Well, it never works that way.
Well, I'm supporting Trump, and I'm feeling
he didn't turn it around. Why would you support him a second time?
Because he's smart, and he don't take bribes.
He's apparently smart enough to sucker you, dude, because you've fallen for it.
Well, I like the idea that he's calling into a radio show to talk about Trump rather than just going and voting. Because if you go in California and vote for Trump, you might as well, go buy a lotto ticket,
and that's
you're
where
going to get the same result.
He's in California.
I know.
I like that he's willing to engage us.
Do you want to hang on to him? You want to stick with Perry? I'll hang on to you, Perry, because you are willing to have this conversation here. And we'll continue it. The number 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, you can. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
One of the counselor's excuses for her behavior after call accused her of engaging in stealing. This is stealing. You're taking something from somebody who believed they owned something, and by all evidence did own something. You're taking it from them. And as you say, Mark, this goes on all across the country. They're called tax sales or tax deeds. Whenever people drop back in not being able to pay property taxes, in this case, it's because of the down economy. These people are having a tough time. At one point, she got very frustrated, and she said, well, it's not stealing because it's the law. So apparently, when the law says you can take something that's not yours, it's not stealing. And now all the law is, as you pointed out, and you talk about the Constitution that's supposed to be the highest law of the land, the law is just words on paper written down by men and women. Some of them signed their names to it, but most of us, in fact, 99.999% of us, never signed anything in regards to their laws.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The number 603-283-6160. Bring up whatever you want. Can the United States be turned around? Is liberty possible at some point again in the United States? That is what our caller who's on hold here, Perry.
In the geographic area known as the United States?
The United States is a political designation.
To be completely fair, is like, when was the pinnacle of liberty in the United States?
That's another great question. Well, we can bring Perry back on the line here, but also I just want to let you know we've got a bunch of cool features on our website, so drop on into freetalklive.com. We have a video channel. We have a bunch of video channels, but the one that we like to tell you about is Odyssey. You can go to video.freetalklive.com. You can follow and subscribe to our channel there on Odyssey, and they will let you watch the show live during live hours, which are 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time. You can also, of course, anytime get archives there for free as well. So head over to video.freetalklive.com as we bring back Perry on the line, listening to K-Talks in California. Mark, why don't you ask that question again? Perry, are you still with us?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing before I go?
Sure.
Biden has let in a lot of people. I mean, 5 million? I'm not even sure exactly the count now, from around the world. From prisons around the world. Letting them into our country, immigrants.
Okay. Yes, we import people from prisons.
No.
What? What?
No, they're letting them in the border without knowing who they are. We're letting
that sounds like straight up propaganda.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of propaganda.
Biden has continued the same kinds of crackdowns as Trump was doing before him.
And Obama.
Basically the same person.
They show pictures on the news. They show pictures of thousands, and every day thousands of people coming in our
Who's
country.
they?
But anyway, like Fox, Newsmax.
Do these people bother you being here?
No. What I'm saying is.
Then what's the problem?
Okay, here's the thing. They're giving driver's licenses in several states like California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, all over the New Jersey, Massachusetts, all over the country. They're giving them, and they're voting Democrat. Now, here's the thing.
What's the problem?
Well, here's the thing.
That's also a mythology as well. I mean, I'm sorry, just to say because somebody is an immigrant means they're going to vote Democrat is not fair. There's a lot of conservative Hispanics that migrate here to the United States. So I don't buy that claim.
We're paying $360,000 a day just for their cell phones that Biden gave them.
Stop paying for it then.
Well, no, the taxpayers are forced to pay it. We have to.
Okay, so the issue here is that you're being forced to pay for things you don't support, not the immigrants.
Well, no, the immigrants. I'm married to an immigrant, but she came illegally. But I've been married 27 years to a Mexican lady.
I didn't say anything about that. I'm pointing out that the issue here is that you're being
anybody coming in from any country in the world. But I don't want gang members coming in. I don't want people that are.
I don't want them either.
Okay, but to clarify, your issue here is not with the immigrants, whether legal or illegal. Your issue is with being taxed to pay for things you don't agree to pay for.
Yeah. By the way, I helped.
So let's get rid of the welfare system.
Well, but
When
he
I was
also said he's against. Hold on, Perry. You also said you're against so-called gang members coming in here, which suggests that you want to see a big government bureaucracy to interview and harass every single person that's trying to come to the United States.
Not to do it that way. No. Not to
What way would you do it?
Well, to do our best to find out if they're going to be too hard, they're going to do any carjackings or rapes or
yeah, because they're going to tell you.
So you would need to stop every single person who was trying to come here, make a better life for themselves, and submit to the harassment and the invasion of the Border Patrol and whatever ridiculous questions and probing that they want to do to those people.
Well, Trump sent back over 20,000 gang members back to El Salvador, called MS-13 gang members, but they had it right on their bodies, MS-13. I mean, you could tell.
So you want people to strip for the Customs and Border Patrol?
In China, they would give you a COVID test by sticking something up your butt. How about that?
Maybe they should add that too. Yeah.
Well, listen, I just want people to be safe. That's the main thing. I don't.
You can't have freedom and safety at the same time. There's like that. Those things are incongruous.
Pick one. Pick one.
You get one.
Yeah, and you probably aren't going to really get safety anyway, because you'll just get the illusion of safety.
And and when safety comes a giant government bureaucracy that will be run by Democrats.
Think the TSA.
That.
Think the TSA, but everywhere.
So you're saying the immigrants will go more like a Christian, constitutional, conservative point of view?
I think that the Republicans have missed a huge opportunity to market to immigrants in their 9/11 lashback that they haven't let go of. That somehow hardworking Hispanics got caught up in Saudi Arabians flying planes into the United States' tallest buildings, and that the Republicans, they just can't help themselves. This, by the way, is from a person who held office 3 times as a Republican.
Yeah, from what I could tell, man, the Republicans are so outdated. They shot themselves in the feet so many times that there's no coming back for them. I don't think the Republican Party is going to survive another 30 years.
I disagree. So far, we basically have had the same 2 parties since the founding of the nation.
It'll evolve, certainly. There will be a second party.
But the Republican Party isn't the same as it was when I was a kid.
But the conservative Republican Party, the somewhat anti-LGBT, the somewhat racist, it has no traction among almost anyone under the age of 30, and it's just not going to make it.
Absolutely. The vast majority of people I know that vote Democrat, not because they believe in the policies, but because it's like, hey, why do you hate my gay son?
So, Mark, you had a question for Perry when we started this segment. I didn't write it down. You happen to remember what it was?
What was the pinnacle of liberty in American history?
At what moment in time was America the freest?
Perry?
Well, I think when Patrick Henry said "Give me liberty or give me death" was a turning point in our country. There's several of them, but
how do you think that black people feel when they hear that, though?
Ed Clark ran for president back in 1980 as a libertarian, and I registered over 2,000 people. Almost 2,500 people in California as libertarians.
Okay, well, you're getting ahead of yourself. The question was about when was America at its pinnacle, and you said John Adams. Was that right?
Patrick Henry.
He basically said back when there were a bunch of slaves, as Mark pointed out.
He made a speech, and he said, "Give me liberty or give me death."
Okay. But what about the slaves?
Here's what I would say is the United States has
I like your state when it says live free or die.
Yeah, Perry. But Mark had a response, so let's get him in here.
My response to that is the United States has a patchwork history when it comes to liberty. And you're right. I like the Constitution, the ideas that people can put behind the Constitution, the idea of limited federal government. I like these ideas. I like give me liberty and give me death. But the reality is that if you're talking about words written in 1775 when some Americans owned other Americans, then it doesn't feel good to hear that when it might have been your ancestors who were being owned.
Well, here's the deal. At that time, it wasn't just America that had slaves.
No, it
The whole
wasn't.
world.
Slavery is a part of human history. And you don't, I'll make all the apologies in the world. I'm just telling you, the United States, I agree with your statement that Americans have liberty in our bones. I agree with that. That in our DNA, as a nation, we are different than other nations. However, I would say that we have a patchwork history of liberty, and that, the struggle is exhausting. That the state is an organization, as Thomas Jefferson said, it is an organization that it is its nature to grow. And how do you stop it? That's the question I have. So far, we haven't really figured that much out.
We're never going to be perfect, but we got to respect one another no matter what race we are, no matter what culture we are, no matter what religion we are. We have to respect one another. We got to take care of each other.
That would be really nice. But the federal government people refuse to respect us. Perry, they refuse to respect us, and they're never going to change. There's no way that you can elect your way out of this problem, which is why, in my opinion, if you're not willing to leave the United States, the solution is to advocate for independence. And Perry, I'm just curious, if New Hampshire decides to secede from the United States, would you support a military invasion to stop us?
Oh, no way.
No. Would you support economic sanctions being used to prevent us from getting food?
No.
Okay.
But I because that's no way.
All right, good. Well, that's all. That's all that's all you need to do is just support peaceful secession, even if you yourself are not ready for it. And thank you, Perry, for the conversation here tonight. I do appreciate the perspective. The reality is, it doesn't matter. You can go ahead and elect Trump and elect a bunch of Trump Republicans in 2024, and they're going to do the exact same thing that happened when the Republicans were in charge during the Bush administration and during the Trump administration, which is nothing. They're not going to reduce the size of government. They're probably going to grow it, which is what they've done historically. Thank you, Perry. There's more coming up here in Hour 3. It's Free Talk Live.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Donald Trump's real estate company has been found guilty of tax fraud. A Manhattan jury found the Trump Organization guilty on all 17 counts after a month-long trial. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
During the trial, prosecutors argued that the Trump Organization knowingly provided off-the-books perks in what was described as a culture of fraud and deception. The jury heard that senior executives were given luxury cars, apartments, and private school tuition for their relatives. Donald Trump was not named in the case, but prosecutors alleged that he was aware of the scheme. The former president says the trial is politically motivated.
and the real estate company's lawyers say the fraud was conducted by rogue actors, like the company's long-time CFO, Alan Weiselberg, who's previously pleaded guilty to fraud. The Trump Organization faces fines of up to $1.6 million. New York's Attorney General says the verdict sends a strong message that no one is above the law. William Denslow, New York.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Apple CEO Tim Cook were among the guests celebrating the opening of Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's first U.S. facility in the state of Arizona. The move is seen as critical to shielding the U.S. from future supply chain shortages. TSMC's factory is expected to be operational in 2024, while a second is planned for 2026. The Taiwanese company is the world's biggest and most advanced chip maker, with clients including Apple, Nvidia, and Advanced Micro Devices. For the Biden administration, moving some production to the U.S. is a victory and a result of government subsidies designed to encourage domestic production.
TSMC is investing $40 billion here in Arizona, the largest foreign investment in the history of this state.
China's territorial claims to Taiwan have increased concerns about relying on semiconductors made on the island. Not a good Tuesday on the U.S. markets as stocks fell for another day this week. The lackluster performance, some economists say, comes amid research released by Bank of America, which points to negative growth in the first part of 2023. FSN's Jody Jacobs has more from New York.
Another gloomy day on the streets of New York and on the markets. The JMP 500 fell 1.4%, and so too the Dow Jones Industrial Average, down more than 350 points. The Nasdaq Composite also got a beating, down 2%. Wall Street failed to recover from the disastrous Monday session, with some economists saying the S&P 500 is now set for its sixth down day in the last 7 trading sessions. Last week's employment report showed strong job gains. However, PepsiCo has announced that it plans to cull hundreds of jobs at its North American headquarters.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Difficult days lie ahead once again for the UK's royal family, with the news that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, will be starring in a new Netflix documentary that is to be released starting this Thursday. A fresh trailer came out yesterday.
I realized they're never going to protect you.
I was terrified. I didn't want history to repeat itself.
Stirring stuff, but just how much have they got to say? Gavin Ashenden is a former chaplain to the royal family and says the reaction from Buckingham Palace will be key.
They've got a difficult position at the moment because the sort of diversity, equality and inclusivity agenda that is sweeping our culture is very much anti-monarchic. I mean, you couldn't have anything less equal than a monarchy. So they're going to have to hope that this doesn't cause too much damage and that they can go with the flow with the new cultural mores. But it's not going to be easy with them. And I think it's a question, really, of what new information there is, if any, and the fact that Meghan and Harry have a kind of law of diminishing returns. They can only say not very much so many times. But I think the royal family will probably say to themselves, we just have to grin and bear it and see it off and hope the public lose interest and hope that Meghan and Harry lose energy.
But there is more to come. Prince Harry's memoir, entitled Spare, will be hitting bookshops early in the new year, though again it's unclear just how much material within it will prove damaging to the royal brand. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. A New York jury finds the Trump Organization guilty of tax fraud after a month-long trial. U.S. President Joe Biden and Apple CEO Tim Cook are among the guests celebrating the opening of a Taiwanese semiconductor facility in the U.S. state of Arizona. And U.S. markets are down again following the release of a report pointing to negative growth in the first part of 2023. That is the latest feature story news. Iris.
My fellow sheep, election season is upon us. Are you one of the 12% of Americans who still approves of our government? Then we need your help to force the other 88% into compliance. Our democracy depends on it. We're an organization called Citizens Against Too Much Unfettered Freedom, or CATMUF. CATMUF is a bipartisan flock of sheep whose goal is expanding government until nothing else remains. Because the government is here to help you. How can you help CATMUF help you? By only voting for candidates dedicated to expanding government. It's easy. You don't need to study the issues. No matter what a politician says when running for office, they're all dedicated to expanding government. And make sure you tell all your friends and family to vote for more government. Here at Catmuff, we don't care if you vote Democrat or Republican, as long as you vote for candidates committed to growing our federal family. Catmuff, because folks just aren't smart enough to handle real freedom.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, kicking off the third hour here. The phones are open. You can join us here. Been a busy night on the phones, by the way. Really appreciate everybody participating. And you can get in here as well. Again, we got a whole hour to go. Plenty of time for you. It's 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And Aria.
You can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that you'll find there. Once again, freetalklive.com. We do have our own social media platform. Just go to social.freetalklive.com and interact with other Free Talk Live hosts, some of them, and some of our listeners as well. It's free. It's a Mastodon system. Means it's open source. It's self-hosted. Means we run the server. So we get to set the policies. And the policies are basically, don't spam us, okay? So head over there to social.freetalklive.com as we go back to your phone calls and thoughts. Jessica in Missouri, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about the government regulatory BS with regard to the legalized recreational cannabis in Missouri.
Okay.
Missouri just voted to legalize recreational cannabis.
Really?
But now they have all these rules and regs.
Of course.
It's like it's like you have to, pay $2,000 just for the application for a license.
Ugh.
Even if you want to have your own weed, it's like I thought that when they legalized recreational weed, it meant that the government would be hands off. You could have your
Surprise.
own weed, smoke your trees, live at peace, and everything would be hunky-dory.
Now, wait a minute.
No.
Just to clarify, are they actually telling people if they want to grow their own cannabis, they have to have a license for home grow?
Yeah, and you had to pay
Wow.
$2,000 for the application for the license.
So they could
not
deny your
necessarily the
application.
license itself.
You pay $2,000 and they say, oh, whoops, you didn't fill the form out right. We'll just keep that $2,000 and have a nice day. Or, oh, we've given out too many
Probably,
licenses.
That sounds like the immigration system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it just meant, you could have your weed and do what you wanted to. The dispensaries could be for everyone instead of just the medicinal green card holders. It's like, no, it's going to be more regulation and more BS. And
Sure.
More
That's
cops
because
and
they
more
cannot
laws
let
and
go
all
of control, right? They said, oh, okay, this form of control known as prohibition has become unpopular. It's becoming politically unpopular, so we don't want to lose our offices and have people rise up and potentially, throw us out or whatever. So we'll start changing our tune on legalization, but that doesn't mean they're going to let go of control. In fact, now you could argue they have even more control, right? Like before, they didn't really have control over cannabis. It was just the illusion of it, right? Like there was plenty of cannabis out there. You could easily purchase cannabis if that's what you wanted to do. And so they weren't stopping cannabis. They were just stopping a little bit here and there and then cheering about it real loud and acting like they'd done something.
They were mostly putting black people in jail.
Yeah, for the most part. And probably some Hispanics as well,
Yeah.
poor whites. But
Maybe some college students.
Yeah, them too. Well, their parents would buy them out. But anyway, so yeah, now they regulate, as you pointed out, Jessica, they charge people for licenses, and then of course there's ongoing regulatory jumping, hoop jumping that you have to do. So if you get the license, then you have to have inspectors come into your place of business, and they're going to tell you what to do. You got to have certain types of labeling on the products. You have to use this kind of fertilizer. You have to have this kind of lighting in the warehouses, and like all kinds of total control from top to bottom.
It's just like you're just a regular person like myself. If I wanted to have some weed in my garden, I have to, supposedly, it's like, well, is the only way they could tell that I had weed in my garden if I have a privacy fence because the neighbors stooge me out, but that wouldn't probably be difficult around here. It's like, it's just ridiculous.
Yep.
I thought it meant, government hands off, go away. let us smoke our trees and live in peace. But no.
I wish they would.
I didn't know that until now.
Oh, and don't forget the taxes. We didn't even mention the taxes. Have they proposed what the taxing scheme is going to be there in Missouri at the retail level? Because I know in some states there's a 3-layer tax. There's the grower's tax, the wholesaler's tax, and then the retail tax.
Well, all I know about Missouri is when you buy cigarettes, there's a state tax, a federal excise tax, a municipal tax, and a regional tax on the cigarettes.
Okay, but you
So
haven't
they
heard
cost
anything
way
about
more than-
you haven't heard anything about the cannabis tax there?
Not yet.
Oh, they'll tax the hell out of it, though.
Oh, okay,
I'm confident of that.
Here it is: 6% state tax and a optional municipal tax of up to 3%. So lower.
That's pretty low.
Lower than some of the western states like Colorado and Washington.
Yeah, frankly, as far as it goes with the tax, I'd rather be taxed than jailed.
Well, obviously,
Sure.
most people would, but it's still not okay.
I would also rather pay protection money than have my kneecaps broken.
Hey, Jessica, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't know the good news. I mean, kind of good news about Missouri. I mean, the good news about legalization is not all the things we talked about. That's all the bad side of it.
Tell me something. Is cannabis legal? Recreational cannabis legal in New Hampshire?
No, but it is decriminalized, which means that we don't have any of those regulations at this time. And hopefully by the time
So they can sell it in stores?
No, it's decriminalized, but sale is still a felony. So you can still buy it through whatever means you would buy it, right? Like if you buy it on the dark web or however it is, you could go travel down to Massachusetts, or I guess now Vermont's got recreational stores. Maine also has them. So you go to any of those places, and yeah, you're committing a felony or whatever.
Only 35 miles from freedom, no matter where you are in New Hampshire.
You're committing a federal crime when you take the cannabis back across the border, apparently. But so far, I haven't heard any cases of anybody getting popped for that. So do with that information what you may. But and I'm not a lawyer, so this isn't legal advice. But there's a lot of people that do that. You can go down to the stores and you see New Hampshire license plates at these facilities, that kind of thing.
I don't think the federal government really wants to fight the interstate marijuana movement.
Certainly,
from
if someone
one
took it
legal
to
state.
if someone took it to a jury, they'd have a good chance of nullification on that charge. But so anyway. In New Hampshire, there is a decriminalized status, meaning that if you are caught with less than 3/4 of an ounce or less than 5 grams of a concentrate form, then they can only issue you a $100 ticket. And I did a Freedom of Information Act request here in Keene. I requested the 2 years prior to the decriminalization going into play, so 2015 and 2016, and the 2 years after decriminalization, so 2018 and 2019. And I said, how many marijuana-related arrests or tickets were there issued in these time frames? And prior to decriminalization, it was like 76. And then after decrim, it was 2.
76 is still not very many, but it's too many.
For one town. This isn't statewide.
Yeah,
right. So the point is, it's not enforced at this point.
Yeah, but if they catch you with the weed, they confiscate it. They just don't cite you and give you a ticket.
No, you would get a ticket. You'd get a $100 ticket if they caught you and wanted to bother writing the ticket for you.
Would they take the weed?
They probably would. Although that said, when they arrested Frank Footloose, I think it was a couple of years ago during one of the, I don't know if it was the protest at the governor's house. I think it was at the governor's house. Or no, it wasn't Frank. It was Skyler. When they arrested one of the guys that was there, they handed him back his gun and his blunt when he was at the police station. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that this is not being enforced in any way, shape, or form. I do not know a single person who has been ticketed.
That's so New Hampshire, man.
At this point.
Here's your gun back. Here's your pot.
It's like, hey, wait a minute. This is supposed to be the libertarian homeland down there. It's like, why haven't you guys gotten recreational weed?
That's a good question, Jessica. And the answer is, and I thank you for the call tonight. I'll give you the answer here. The answer is New Hampshire is slow to change, and that is both a blessing and a difficulty. Right?
There's also Governor Sununu, who until this year or last year had vowed to and had vetoed any legislation legalizing marijuana.
Correct, but he did sign the decriminalization, so he does support decriminalization. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm grateful for that, because legalization, so far, all the proposals have involved taxes and regulations, which is the problems that Jessica was complaining about. So the longer we wait, the more free staters get elected, the more likely we're going to see more bills that have lower proposals for regulation and or taxes. In fact, our very own Nightcap rep, Matt Santanastasso, has put forward a bill this year that would completely end the entire war on drugs in New Hampshire. So we're starting to see some more principled legislation on this front. And so I welcome the delays on this front. Again, we don't need all these stupid rules. Thank you, Jessica. There's more coming up.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The phones are open here. If you want to join us, you can do that here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian, Mark, and Aria in the studio tonight. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com. It's a great source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click Get Started at the top of the page, and you'll find some introductory information like videos that you can watch that'll give you some of the basics about crypto, like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So head over and click on Get Started at the top of the page. You want the latest news headlines? Head over to news.bitcoin.com. And I want to thank the folks over at news.bitcoin.com for reporting on the Crypto 6 situation. It's probably because of their coverage that we saw some of the other, or at least one other, crypto news organization
CoinDesk was lurking about.
Jumped on board the Crypto 6 news story 2 years later, but they finally apparently had a reporter out at the trial today, so it'll be good for them for finally catching up to news.bitcoin.com, because so far news.bitcoin.com has been, I think, the only Bitcoin news source that has bothered to cover Crypto 6.
Yeah, this is a few times now they've written an article about it.
Yeah, I think at least twice.
I would have liked to have seen the Daubert motion covered more extensively, because that was an important thing for cryptocurrency. I mean, especially the hearing and the results of the hearing, I think. And it really showed that the FBI's hand in regard to cryptocurrency and their, quote, expertise about cryptocurrency is extraordinarily weak. And it's a house of cards, and as soon as you knock one of them over, the entire thing crumbles.
You're referring to the motion that your attorney had filed, I think in September or something like that, arguing essentially that these private companies that do blockchain analysis, like Chainalysis, which is known for being used by the FBI and other governmental agencies to trace Bitcoin along the blockchain, is essentially not admissible as evidence in a criminal trial, because whenever you have something you want to admit as evidence, it has to have essentially a chain of custody, and you have to be able to prove that the thing was, gone from point A to point B through this method or whatever, through these hands, and how it all worked. And when it comes to a private company that has closed source code that they're running on their servers,
not going to work.
You put in an input and it spits out an output, but we don't get to look at the things that happened in between with their code, their programming. That cannot be allowed into trial, basically.
And that's a huge precedent that just got set. I mean, all that blockchain analysis, that Chainalysis crap, all of it cannot be used in a federal courtroom. That's huge.
Basically. And now that ruling didn't officially come out from the motion, but essentially the motion put them in a position where they had to change their approach, and they had to sort of tacitly admit they would never pass this Daubert test. It's called the Daubert standard. And the recent story from news.bitcoin.com did cover this.
They did. And I appreciated that. That was
so far, it's the only place it has.
Right.
So kudos to them for that. Check them out, news.bitcoin.com. Let's go back to the phones here and talk to Rusty. He's in Texas. Rusty, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yeah, howdy, y'all. I just wanted to start off by telling everyone else up there fighting for liberty. Thanks so much for fighting the good fight, and keep it up.
Thanks, Rusty.
A lot of people praying for y'all. Just to go back to a previous caller who was talking about how the U.S. is the greatest land of the free, home of the brave. That's true, but restrictions apply. I think that's been obvious throughout our history.
Mm-hmm.
George Carlin, late great George Carlin, he had a whole thing about rights and privileges, and where it'd say, if you want to see about your precious rights, just Google Japanese internment camp 1942, and you'll find out all you need to know.
Yeah.
And more recently, I think that applies to the vaccine mandates that have been pushed out, by our government on industries, in the military, government employees, and the general public. And that leads me into what's currently being discussed right now in Congress and the Senate is the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, which is usually a must-pass bill, funds the military, and it's right now the Republicans are trying to put in there a repeal of the vaccine mandate for the military.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage all of your listeners, anybody who wants a military that represents all of America, even the people who want to peacefully separate and have self-determination, they want those people in the military. They really want to get rid of the vaccine mandate, because a lot of principled people who stand up are facing, getting thrown out. It's just ridiculous how they're pushing us out.
Well, I will say this. My wife, Bonnie, has a younger brother who is in the Air Force, and he has told his superiors that he is not going to get the vaccine. and they said that he would be terminated with cause or whatever the terminology is in that case, but he hasn't been terminated yet. And it's been more than a year now since he, said, "Hey, look, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going to take this vaccine," and they haven't gotten rid of him yet. So, I mean, maybe it's a bunch of BS. Maybe they're just bluffing in the first place.
I would hope so. I know some people have been discharged already. Currently the process is backlogged. I think the Air Force, there's some lawsuits, a class action lawsuit that put a stop to that. I think the only branch that doesn't have a class action lawsuit is the Army. But what it looks like to me, how they're working through the lines, it's basically active duty. They'll go through those applications first, and then reserve, and then National Guard.
Well, it seems to me like a good excuse to get the hell out of the military. I mean, another reason not to stick around to potentially die at the hands of a bunch of power-mad politicians.
I agree with that assessment.
That's fine. I think, though, in the interest of liberty, interested in principled people in there, even if you don't agree with necessarily the function they have, they're just kind of following orders to a certain degree. Some of them would be the ones who stand up and refuse unlawful orders. A lot of those principled people are going to be lost because of this vaccine mandate. I think it's ultimately harmful for the nation. It's harmful for Army recruitment or military recruitment in general. It's down across the board. And
I hope it keeps going down.
One of those reasons.
I was thrilled to death when Trump, forbade trans people from serving in the military. I mean, that was one of the best things Trump ever did for trans people.
Saving trans lives.
Yeah, people are like, he's not a trans ally. How could he do this? I'm like, that's the most alliance thing a person could have done. So I think we should go broader. Don't let gay people serve either. Don't let Hispanic people serve. Don't let women serve. Don't let men serve. Don't let anyone serve.
Thank you, Rusty. I do appreciate the kind words, and thank you for the call tonight here. Let's continue and talk to Major Payne. Sorry, that's not Major Payne. Stand by. Major Payne in Michigan. Go ahead.
Yes, let me properly enunciate my displeasure. This crazy woman in California who's trying to teach people to talk wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's just
wrongly,
incorrectly.
It rubs my fur the wrong way in so many freaking ways. But my favorite quote from the old boys who wrote the papers that we now are supposedly living by was Benjamin Franklin, and he says, "Those who give up essential liberties for implied safety deserve neither."
That's a fact.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't, it's always difficult to know who said what in those old quotes, but I like the idea of it.
Okay, now I want to play devil's advocate for this crazy broad in California.
All right.
Sometimes y'all you hang up on me because I don't talk right, and I know I've heard you make fun of Jerome, and that rubs my fur the wrong way too.
I don't make fun of Jerome for how he talks. He's talking about one of our weekend callers, for those of you
I think I've heard of Jerome.
Yeah, he only calls on the weekend, so if you're not hosting, then you probably don't know who he is. But Jerome is made fun of because of his ideas, because Jerome is a partisan hack who only takes one side, cannot even begin to listen to what somebody else might have to say. I don't make fun of the way the guy talks. But thank you for the call tonight, Major. I do appreciate it, man. There's more coming up here. The phones are about loaded up on Free Talk Live. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Donald Trump's real estate company has been found guilty of tax fraud. A Manhattan jury found the Trump Organization guilty on all 17 counts after a month-long trial. FSN's William Denzelo reports from New York.
During the trial, prosecutors argued that the Trump Organization knowingly provided off-the-books perks in what was described as a culture of fraud and deception. The jury heard that senior executives were given luxury cars, apartments, and private school tuition for their relatives. Donald Trump was not named in the case, but prosecutors alleged that he was aware of the scheme. The former president says the trial is politically motivated, and the real estate company's lawyers say the fraud was conducted by rogue actors, like the company's longtime CFO Alan Weisselberg, who's previously pleaded guilty to fraud. The Trump Organization faces fines of up to $1.6 million. New York's Attorney General says the verdict sends a strong message that no one is above the law. William Denslow, New York.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Apple CEO Tim Cook were among the guests celebrating the opening of Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's first U.S. facility in the state of Arizona. The move is seen as critical to shielding the U.S. from future supply chain shortages. TSMC's factory is expected to be operational in 2024, while a second is planned for 2026. The Taiwanese company is the world's biggest and most advanced chip maker, with clients including Apple, Nvidia, and Advanced Micro Devices. For the Biden administration, moving some production to the U.S. is a victory and a result of government subsidies designed to encourage domestic production.
TSMC is investing $40 billion here in Arizona, the largest foreign investment in the history of this state.
China's territorial claims to Taiwan have increased concerns about relying on semiconductors made on the island. Not a good Tuesday on the U.S. markets as stocks fell for another day this week. The lackluster performance, some economists say, comes amid research released by Bank of America, which points to negative growth in the first part of 2023. FSN's Jody Jacobs has more from New York.
Another gloomy day on the streets of New York and on the markets. The JMP 500 fell 1.4%, and so too the Dow Jones Industrial Average, down more than 350 points. The Nasdaq Composite also got a beating, down 2%. Wall Street failed to recover from the disastrous Monday session, with some economists saying the S&P 500 is now set for its sixth down day in the last 7 trading sessions. Last week's employment report showed strong job gains. However, PepsiCo has announced that it plans to cull hundreds of jobs at its North American headquarters.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yeah! It is Free Talk Live, and the phones are loaded, which is pretty unusual for a Tuesday night, but hey, I'll take it. Always enjoy hearing from people and getting different opinions on the air. That's kind of why we do this show. So
it's the power of Mark.
Yes, indeed. I am a powerful broadcast force.
The number is 603-283-6160. It is Ian, Mark, and Aria here in the studio tonight. Of course, you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. There are many archives available. The feeds for Free Talk Live, you can go to feeds.freetalklive.com. We have our RSS feed there with the daily digest, and then there's other links and other options for you to listen in various different ways. Just check out feeds.freetalklive.com to see all of the options. There's one line available, but you can only call it if you use our SIP line. It's the SIP line. That's the one.
I thought we had infinite lines.
No.
Okay.
This phone system can only handle 6 lines. So if you want to use the SIP line, so 5 of them are our normal number, which is 603-283-6160, and we have the SIP line dedicated for those who want to take the time to set it up. And you want to sound better on the air than the average caller, just go to sip.freetalklive.com. That's sip.freetalklive.com. If you had trouble with SIP before, try it again with the new instructions that I posted there, because the old provider that I thought was decent actually turned out to be absolute garbage. And so I found a better one, and the one that I've got on there now, it worked for me the first time I tried it with multiple SIP software. It's basically it's like a free calling thing for your phone. You don't call phone numbers with it. You call other SIP lines with it, basically, and it costs nothing.
It's very similar to the way that Skype used to work.
Except without Microsoft, and it's a direct, because Skype did used to be direct connection, didn't it?
I think so.
Back in the day. Yeah, so it is very much like that, but totally free, and registering for a SIP account is also free. So it's just you have to jump through these hoops, and the hoops are easier than ever. So go to sip.freetalklive.com. You can sign up, try that there, and dial us up. All the details you need are at sip.freetalklive.com. We go back to your phone calls and thoughts. Joseph is on the line in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Joseph.
Hey, how's it going, Ian?
Hey, what's on your mind?
Hey, just following the Crypto 6 case, and really hoping that you come out as victorious as possible, really.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who owns a Bitcoin ATM business, I mean, it's quite a grind. I mean, I moved all my machines out of Connecticut, actually, because they require a money transmitter license, and to get that, you need a FBI background check, credit check. You need a net worth requirement, which is totally ridiculous. I mean, how many jobs out there require a net worth to be able to operate?
What's the net worth requirement?
For Connecticut, it's $1 million.
So basically, only rich people can run Bitcoin vending machines in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rich get richer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what licensure is, right?
Protection
right. The intention is to keep people out of the game.
But yet New Hampshire doesn't require that license for running a Bitcoin vending machine, correct?
Oh, well, New Hampshire was actually really, really rough to get into, despite us loosening the regulations.
Really?
Because you have this lady there, her name's Miriam Torbin.
Mm-hmm.
She's like in the banking commission. She approved my previous bank, my previous Bitcoin ATM company, but then when I started another one, I submitted basically the same paperwork, and then they're like, oh, well, they just gave me the runaround. And because of, New Hampshire, that lady basically, I just found out recently I had to buy a legal opinion, I had to spend like $700 to do something that, was already legal in New Hampshire. So even if something's legal, you're always going to get a roadblock by some kind of regulator somewhere.
Huh, that's interesting. That very same bureaucrat you're referring to had gone in front of the New Hampshire Commission on Cryptocurrency and had testified that there are no regulations on Bitcoin vending unless you're doing Bitcoin, what they call money transmission, where you're allowing your customers to purchase from an exchange through your machine. Is that what you're doing?
No, it's not.
That's weird then.
Interesting. So you're saying this Miriam Torbin lady was actually like pro-crypto-ish?
No. I wouldn't say she's pro-crypto. I would say that her
explanation of the regulation was.
This whole call strikes me as weird, man.
Okay. Well, I know who this person is. He owns a crypto vending company here in New Hampshire. It just sounds like he's having some trouble with some bureaucrats. So if you want to search for her name on freekeen.com, and I bet you'll find the video of her testifying. Now, maybe they've tried to make up some crap recently. Maybe they have added some things that I had not heard about. But I've seen a letter from her issued to a Bitcoin vending machine company here in New Hampshire that had reached out to her. They were getting ready to put a machine in Corner News in Keene years ago. And the guy who was running that company, he was coming in from out of state. He wanted to, double, triple check to make sure that he was following all the laws and everything. And so he wrote to the banking commission and asked them, hey, what hoops do I need to jump through? I want to put a vending machine up in Keene. And it took him like 3 weeks to get back to him. But when all was said and done, they said, no, you don't have to do anything. That's not regulated here. She said it's like when she was testifying in front of the commission, she said it's like candy. It's like a vending machine. So, I don't know. It's weird, man.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when things are just going to change up and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I really hope you guys beat the case, I mean, I've been following it. And then, they always say things like ignorance of the law is no excuse. I mean, look what happened to Joa recently. None of the people, knew the law regarding, recording in the courthouse. It's insane.
When you're referring to Joe, you're talking about a recent video of his when he went into the, I think it was Goffstown District Court and was being given a real hard time for recording video just in the hallways of the courthouse. And he withstood the pressure for quite some time, but eventually did, under the threat of attack from the sheriff's department, eventually did turn his camera off. And unfortunately, there was no one else there to back him up at that particular situation. So yeah, we were definitely paying attention to that. Joseph, thanks for the call tonight. Definitely appreciate hearing from you, and thank you, and thanks for the kind words there. Let's continue here. We got Joe on the line in Maryland. You're on Free Talk Live, Joe. Joe.
Hey, how you doing, Ian?
Good, man. What's on your mind tonight?
Sorry, and how you doing, Mark?
Welcome, sir.
I went out and bought the Big Book of Crypto by James Campbell.
Couldn't quite make out the name of it, but it's called The Big Book of Crypto, or the author. Couldn't make out the author, I guess.
Yes. James Altucher and Chris Campbell.
Okay.
So you guys got me inspired to look into crypto.
Nice. So you're going to start doing a little bit of research. Very cool.
Yes, sir. We caught all the Free Talk listeners say prayers for Ian, because when he called, they did a study in one of the Ivy League college. I can't remember right now, but it came out to be a positive success, even though the people didn't even know about it.
You're talking about prayer. They did a study on prayer for people that was essentially double blind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those who got prayed and those who didn't get prayed for, and the people got prayed for had positive results. So
Are we talking about people who are ill, or what were the kind of results?
Yeah. They were ill.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But, let's face it, I want you to get all the help you can.
Thank you, Joe. I do appreciate the thoughts, and I hope you enjoy that book. I do appreciate hearing from you tonight. Thank you for the call tonight.
All right.
The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Certainly when it comes to cryptocurrency regulations in New Hampshire, it is something that the state reps here are working on. Keith Ammon is a free stater here who has made this one of his key issues, and he did get, I believe, some things passed in the last session. I don't know what, if anything, he's submitted this year, but I suspect he's got some irons in the fire.
Awesome, go him.
The good news is the more freedom-loving crypto people we get to migrate here, the more influence crypto people are going to have in the state house, and the more of a friendly atmosphere it's going to be, excluding, of course, the feds, who are going to try to rain on everyone's parade everywhere. But, it's good to have at the very least, the state bureaucracy staying off people's backs. There's more coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Should you be a one-car family? I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. My 15-year-old Ford Escape was literally held together by duct tape and Gorilla Glue, but the dealer who sold me my new car gave me $1,500 for it. When supply chain issues slammed the brakes on new cars and car parts, dealers' new and used inventory dried up, and lots of us who were sent home during the pandemic shutdown continue working there. And lunching at home is a whole lot cheaper than ordering takeout at the office. Given your new normal, and with dealers begging to buy used cars, should you sell one if it's mostly just sitting there? How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, moments remain, maybe enough time for you if you dial in now. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to talk about Ye tonight. Oh, sorry, Aria. That's my bad.
It looks like not.
We might.
Did you really refer to Kanye as Ye?
That's his name.
He's changed his name. So he's Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, if you want to make sure people who don't know that know who we're talking about.
I slip up a lot and still call him Kanye because
I've been getting better at it.
Yeah.
I've been getting better at it.
It's just a matter of practice.
Yeah,
I mean, that's his
true.
name now. You've grown, but that's his name.
Sure, and somebody who's named Will, it might be very short for William Foster, right?
But this isn't short. His name is Ye now.
He legally changed it, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he legally changed it or not, but to me, that's irrelevant anyway.
That's true, yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, names are intended to be disambiguations, and therefore, Ye is just too short and too weird to be sort of a name. I need to know, in the same way that Prince popped out that little symbol and said,
"What about the woman named Bo?"
I don't know the woman named Bo.
She was in movies back in like 1980.
You could call him
Bo
Ye
Derek?
West.
Bo Derek.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, but when you said the woman named Bo,
There's
you
only
were
one.
unsuccessful in drawing up Bo Derek to me.
Okay.
How about
But
Ye
there is
West?
a woman.
I don't know yet. Oh, Ye West. I think that's successful. Sure. That helps
Who's Ye
me.
West?
Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
At least we identify, because it's like saying Bill Foster as opposed to William Foster. I can, that works for me.
But no, Ye isn't short for Kanye.
Ye is short for Kanye.
It is not, though.
It just happens to be short for Kanye. It's not
Yes.
short for Kanye, but it happens to be short for
Coincidental.
It is part of Kanye, yes.
Kanye. Yeah, that's what short means.
No, because it's not like he was like, hey, my nickname is Ye, right?
Sure.
His name is Ye now.
Let's get back to the phones here. I got Crichton on the line. He's in Kentucky. Go ahead, Crichton.
Hi, guys. I wanted to call in and respond to something that my Spirit host, Mark, said on Sunday about activists who don't do anything.
Okay.
And this is a common problem, of course.
Can you really call those people activists?
Inactivists.
Well, they call themselves activists. They believe they're doing something by yelling at bad guys.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about a book that I've had for years. I've given it away many years in a row. And it's called Building a Better World in Your Backyard Instead of Being Mad at Bad Guys, by Paul Wheaton and Sean Clausen-Kloop. And in it describes a lot of things that are like this that can be done, that individuals can actually do that change their world, rather than spend their time writing angry tweets and sending them at people that telling them how to do their activism differently.
Totally agree.
And this has been a frustration for me too. But I know that you guys have a lot to do tonight, so I'm going to let that one stop right there.
Well, I mean, I just want to comment on it. I think you're absolutely right. People need to create alternatives. I know, Mark, you're trying to do this with your project down in Honduras, is to build an alternative without trying not to ask permission too much and just going ahead and doing something. And nothing is more frustrating than people on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever social media just bellyaching about the government and calling themselves an activist. It's like, you know what? You want to do activism? Show us some results. What do you actually
You need
have?
activity to be an activist.
Yeah. Now, some people are moving to New Hampshire and they are getting involved inside the system stuff. And Mark is a critic of that. But we've seen major success stories here in the inside the system world. We were just talking about Keith Ammon, who's been doing some great crypto work within, as he's a state rep. There's a bunch of other people that are doing great stuff. We have a bill in this year to completely end the war on drugs. We've had secession in. And these are things that get people talking. They get issues brought forward. They get people considering new ideas. And that is how you change. One of the ways that you can change people's viewpoints is you get them to consider new things. So,
but these people are approaching everything from the wrong perspective anyway. If they're motivated by anger, then they're coming at this from the exact wrong perspective. They're only going to produce negativity if that's the emotion that's motivating them. Instead of wanting to build something better, they want to destroy something worse. And while you could achieve something better by destroying something worse, that's not the right mindset one should go about trying to change the world.
Thank you, Creighton, for the call tonight. Appreciate bringing that up. Let's talk to Bad Slave. He's on the line in New Hampshire as well. Go ahead, Bad Slave.
Well, thank you. And I want to say to you personally, Ian, that in fact I am impressed with your taking this to the end of the run on this. This stuff needs to be done more and more, and
I agree. I wish it was more common than it was impressive. But thank you.
I am one who, had 5 counts of operating after habitual offender certification, and having harmed no one.
Yep.
And I all at the same time I had at least 3 courts, one in Coas and one in Grafton and one in Manchester.
These are counties. Manchester's not a county, but
what's
these
he
are
talking about?
Courts in New Hampshire. He went to prison for driving while license or not license suspended, but I guess your license was suspended probably at that point. But
that didn't get conveyed at all.
And that's it was the cause of the certification of habitual offender status.
Right. So in New Hampshire, when you become a so-called habitual offender, if they get you one more time, you go to prison. There's no pass and go. It's a guaranteed prison sentence.
Right. And so Bad Slave was not going to get a driver's license, believed that you do not need a driver's license, and sadly, they felt differently.
Was there a jury in your case, Bad Slave?
No, we didn't get to that point.
You took a plea deal?
Yeah, I had 3, public defenders, and I had a meeting with them, and I just said, listen, we've got to, we got to just end this thing. There was no way, because I couldn't travel anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, the odds are the jury's probably going to have a tough time finding somebody not guilty on a charge like that, right? Like, it's always hard to go up against
You're
charges.
sitting with 12 of your peers that have all gone through the trouble of getting a driver's license, and then there's somebody's going to sit out there and they're going to say something. The prosecutor's going to say something to the effect of, "Hey, if we don't have driver's licenses, we can't take them away from the bad guys.
It'll be anarchy on the roads if we don't have driver's licenses." So I don't blame. Like I said, I never blame anybody for taking a plea. And thank you, Bad Slave, for the kind words here. I appreciate hearing from you tonight. People have to do what they feel is right for them in the moment. Unfortunately, in his case, a plea deal on a habitual is still going to send you to prison. So
I wish he'd been more successful in his right to travel activism. Because
very few people are.
I know.
I mean,
it's
as
sad.
much as I want to see somebody.
Yeah, it seems obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, now Jay Noon, who's a former co-host here on Free Talk Live, claims to have had many successes in that area. And yet he has not been pulled over that I'm aware of since he's been in New Hampshire. If he has, he hasn't publicized it at all.
Yeah, most of his experiences were in
Massachusetts,
right?
Yeah. And supposedly that guy not only does he not have a social security number, but he also supposedly doesn't have a driver's license. So
yeah, he's hardcore, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can be done. It has been done. But you just have to be willing to go to jail for it, and a lot of people they're not willing to. They're not willing to take that risk.
To be clear, he has plates, license plates, but not driver's license.
Well, then,
in many cases.
Well, anyway, unfortunately, we're short on time here, but maybe enough time for Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh yes, I was going to tell you that I'm pretty happy with my network marketing. It's a good deal.
Okay, so what level are you? Are you like a diamond distributor yet?
Well, we don't have that, but
what level are you? What's the stone or the precious metal?
Are you a paladin?
Well, Richard's got, I think, Director 2.
Director
That's how we
2.
Calibrate.
All right, how many in the downline does Richard have?
He's got about maybe 48.
No. I mean distributors. He doesn't have. There's no way he's got 48 distributors.
No, we don't distribute. We set them up with a company, and then they send you the product. We don't distribute.
Yeah. So you don't have any actual downline, right? Because downline is technically the distributors beneath you, and you can include their customers or whatever. But if you don't have those distributors, they don't ever get you to the highest levels of the network marketing.
No, we don't distribute. We just direct.
Okay, whatever they tell you to say. Thank you for the call tonight,
I have no idea
Sarah.
what any of this meant.
I hope you never have to find out, Aria. Out of time tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL.